Life can be overwhelming, but help is here. Gulfport Behavioral Health System is your treatment provider for mental and behavioral health issues. For nearly 40 years, we've helped adults, adolescents, and children as young as 4 find the coping skills to get back on track. We're here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Hope starts here. Visit gulfportbehavioral.com to learn more. With limited exceptions, physicians are not employees or agents of this hospital.
Oh, I lied. Like in 27 seconds. Holy cow. I'm just so much on a roll. And, I'll just get to the rest of the chat room. Let's bring the team in. Let's bring them in. Look at that. Look at that team. Handsome as ever. All right, remember, Super Chat is a great way to support what we do. If you're new here, you will see that we actually take commercial breaks every half an hour. Get your horns up. It's time to rock. Let's do it. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Yes, it is that time of the month once again where we bring in some friends and talk about the month that was on the SOR Roundtable. It's a lot of UFO talk this past month, and we are going to get deep into it. And the news continued right through today with Sean Cahill of the Skyfort team making a big announcement earlier on, and we're going to get to that as well. But before we do, let us introduce our team tonight. From Disclosure Tonight, Thomas Fessler. We have Science Bob McGuire. We have John Hudson. You know Fedora John from our Unbiased UFO Report. One of the best researchers out there. Walter Bosley. He's got a good stubble going on tonight. There is our main man. We call him the bodyguard of Spaced Out Radio. Super Quest himself, Roy Washington. And the lovely and talented, and now author, not just a cook, Nicole Sackich. Everyone, welcome back to the show. Now, I don't know if you all heard the news earlier on today, but Sean Cahill on Medium.com went and put an incredible article in regards to Skyfort. And if you don't know what Skyfort is the culmination of Luis Elizondo, Jake Mann, Jesse Springer, and Sean Cahill, where they are trying to make Skyfort the number one property when it comes to UAP research. They've been talking to a lot of people behind the scenes in government, science, universities, and people with a lot of pull to try and get this thing off the ground. And we're going to talk about this a little bit tonight because one of the things I learned is, for the past couple months, why they've been doing their media blackout. This is real important. And for our team here and for our listeners, I actually have a statement from Sean Cahill that he would like us to read because, well, he kind of likes us around here. So we're going to read this statement, and then we're going to get you guys to react here, okay? And Sean stated to me, "In no way does silence of me or other members of Skyfort mean we are ignoring the great people of ufology. We have made many friends and trusted allies within the community at large. That being said, when it comes to the work we are creating with Skyfort, this project goes well and beyond what we see on blogs, podcasts, YouTube channels, and mainstream media. In order for Skyfort to begin and then complete its mission of Phase 2, which is my article, that's his article in Medium.com, all right, what he goes on to say that, let me find it here. We have to be able to have the strength and support to break away from the mainstream vision of ufology in order to create more sophisticated and technologically advanced looks at where the data and research will be taking us. For Skyfort to expand the base of ufology in a positive and educating manner, we have to pull away from what we know as ufology, moving away from those who serve themselves first and foremost. As of right now, the more distance put between the two sides, the better the chance Skyfort has in getting those who need to be on board on board. In order to advance our goals for the program, being a player and a prominent member in today's ufology can defeat the purpose of Skyfort and the giant steps forward we've taken in introducing prominent people to this endeavor. Skyfort has been in contact with major universities, scientists, government organizations, defense contractors, and cultural organizations behind the scenes to create a new, improved, and unique model of how to properly pursue this phenomena and educate those about the realities of UAP. In other words, we are opening the eyes of very intrigued and influential people who are now understanding the phenomena is real and are convinced the academics and science surrounding this phenomena is warranting more study. In closing, to concentrate on our efforts in building a successful model aimed to create a proper methodology of study, the creators of Skyfort realize the time is right and the time is now to start accomplishing these goals. Do not let our silence mean we've turned our backs to the field of ufology and the efforts of the people who have made their studies a lifelong passion. This is a phenomena that will have an impact on every single person on this planet. Skyfort is in a position now where we have to focus our time and energy on creating the foundation and then setting up the building blocks in order to advance the growth of UAP studies. Science Bob, I want to start with you on this one. What do you think of that statement?
So the statement's interesting, but look, anybody that claims that they're silent on ufology hasn't listened to a single thing Lou Elizondo has said for the last 12 months. Every interview the guy gives, he's praising the people in ufology for forcing further and further openness and congressional action and so forth. He's 100% given credit to ufology. Now, if they are engaging with scientists and research institutions, we already know that there needs to be this patina of you're not a bunch of tinfoil hat wearing weird people with other things. But the thing that's missing is the thing that we keep looking for. If you want to see UFOs, go where the experiencers are. They don't mention experiencers. And we already know that's where you can find them with regularity.
I agree with you. Nicole Sackage, let's get you in here because I know you love this type of chatter. So let's get to it. What's your opinion on Skyfort going forward right now?
Well, honestly, let me preface. I'm fresh out of my kitchen and ignoring ufology for the past week. So this is the first I'm hearing of this, and you reading it is first that I'm processing it. But, I mean, just off the top of my head, I was like, okay, we have another super conglomerate saying that they're going to advance the community and they need some more time. And, I mean, I like that. I don't know. It's very planned. I know these guys say every word specifically on purpose. So to give a nod to the past is good. But it would be nice if they would define what they think mainstream ufology is right now. So the rest of us know exactly what they want to pick and choose from in advance.
All right.
And what they want to wipe the slate clean, the slate clean of. So I don't know. That's vague. I mean, I'd like to say it's bold and, hopeful, but it's vague. It's more vagueness right now. So, and it's kind of more of the same.
Well, I had a 40-minute conversation today with Sean Cahill, and I hadn't talked to him in probably 3.5 months. And him and I talked about this, and let me try and clarify here, I think, what they are saying. And this is my words, not his. I think what they're saying is they have to try and get away from a lot of the charlatans and the people who are more interested in making money off of UFOs and their own careers rather than trying to advance the subject. Now, of course, in this, they're going to be making money. They have to make money. Nobody can do this for free. I think we can all agree on that. But on the flip side, when you get certain people out there who are stealing clips from other YouTube channels, or they're making money off of YouTube, or they're making money off of their conferences and whatever, this is where they are trying to pull away from everything and concentrate on what they're doing. They're not ignoring the UFO front. What they're trying to do is they're trying to jump up and say, look, guys, if we want to get the Apples or the Microsofts or the Elon Musks involved in this subject, we need to take this to an upper echelon to get away from the tinfoil hat wearing people.
Well, who makes that list? Who decides who's a charlatan and who's a UFO-tainer, and who decides that list?
The people know, honestly, the people who know that are the ones who are doing those, who are basically in those roles because they know what the information they have. They know whether it's speculation.
But the outside community, I mean, so are we going to offer up people now? I mean, I've heard over the last couple months, people being very bold and throwing names out into the community. And I think a lot of applause is behind that. But I'm also one that doesn't point fingers anymore because I have eaten plenty of crow sandwiches. So who gets to make that decision of who's a charlatan, whose work is worthy, what's deemed necessary to go forward?
When the facts come out, the charlatans will fall. And that's what it really comes down to, is being able to have that stuff that's coming out there. And yes, like David said a second ago, you have the ones that are going to the UFO conferences who have their $2,000, $3,000 upfront fee that they're charging just to show up. They have a list of all the must-haves that they have to have, whether it's Evian or different stuff. To those.
Okay, I understand that, but we know that. But every charlatan still has 200,000+ followers on Twitter, YouTube, what have you. So
charlatans that have 750,000 followers on YouTube right now, and every video they put out is fake.
It's a number, though. So they don't go away. I've only known one charlatan to go away in the last 20 years, and I don't honestly think he's gone for good. So,
all right, let's bring in Walter Brosley here.
Let Jeremy Corbell find a way to make money off of whoever the charlatan is you're talking about. He'll be back, just like Bob Lazar. But I'm kind of mirroring what they've been saying. What I heard with this is kind of what we've heard before. I mean, isn't what they were claiming they were going to do what TTSA was claiming it was going to do, which Lou was a part of that, and I understand there was a rift there, but I'm going to reserve further comment just because I don't really see anything there or hear anything there to be excited that this is going to really change anything. It's just another new group that here we are. We're going to be so great. What we're going to do is going to change. The game changer. Once again, that's what we're hearing. So, I say give it time. And I'll personally be surprised if this makes a difference. The difference that they're claiming it's going to make.
The proof will be in the pudding, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Now, I'm telling you, I'm not encouraged that it's going to accomplish this. Whatever this group he's talking about. What is it? Space Fort?
Skyport.
Skyport. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm going to have to see them make the difference and change the game. Right now, I'm not confident that they will. I think it's just going to be another one of those that's going to come and go, and people are going to talk about it all excitedly for 6 months to a year, and then they're down the road, will most likely be disappointed. If I'm wrong, that would be cool. That's the way I look at it.
John Hudson, you need to get in here on this one.
So, for once, I think I might be the negative one on this. I should say that there's been a bit of that going around. So I'm rather disappointed. Because one, as others have mentioned, one of the big problems we had with TTSA was the fact that they distanced themselves from the community, and this is now them announcing, "Hey, we have this new plan. This is what we're going to do. We're going to distance ourselves from the community, and then we're going to go build a new reputation. It's going to be awesome. Watch." And it's like, we've seen this movie, right? And so first of all, I find that a little insulting. Not just because it's, necessarily I'm part of the group they're trying to distance themselves from, but just from the fact that they think we would, fall for that sort of thing. But, the other challenge I have is that, so there's the UFO community at whole, right? And then there's the UFO social media community, okay? And I guess I'm getting a little tired of the negativity toward that social media apparatus, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't know any of you. Dave, I wouldn't even know Spaced Out Radio existed, right? I mean, I wouldn't have met any of the researchers I know. I wouldn't be doing any of the research I'm doing. Like, everything, like my entire existence in this community is because of Twitter, right? Like, everyone I've met has been through Twitter. And I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that aren't, it's going to insult some people, so I apologize, who aren't terribly savvy about how social media tools work. And so they get baited into some very negativity, some severe negativity on Twitter that I don't see at all. Like, it's so rare I see any negativity on Twitter, like, at all. Like, my Twitter is all rainbows and ponies, right?
I wish I had your Twitter.
Block and mute works well. Block and mute work well.
Well, and actually, Bob, I've been on Twitter since 2009. I have 3 people blocked. That's it. Just 3, right?
I have, but I have about 100 muted.
Well, but the thing is that 1, you don't have to mute people forever, and 2, it's about picking your battles, and it's about not letting your ego get pulled into it, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess I don't want to go on a big rant, but what I want to get to is that at some point I would like people to, instead of saying, "Hey, we're going to invent this new thing and replace everything else," for people to stand up and say, "Hey, look, looking at what we have, this is what we think is missing. This is what our skill sets are, and this is what we're going to add." Right? This is what we can do that we don't see anyone else doing, so we're going to add to the mix.
Let me throw a wrench in here for you, though. What if it's not them? What if it is the scientists, the government officials, and the people who want to throw money, because you need money to make things work? The people who want to throw money saying to them, "Look, we don't want to be involved with this cult of ufology. It's anarchic at best. It's at times not very polite. Okay, we're not insulting the brilliant people in the field, but in order to take this seriously on a more business level, we got to do something. Money talks." Okay, in the end, money talks.
At some level, really, honestly, my honest answer is, okay, then we'll just wait. Because in 10, 20 years, you'll be gone, and we won't have to worry about you anymore.
If what you're saying is true, also, time will tell.
Absolutely.
The proof in the pudding, like you said,
Like Walter and Fedora John and others have said, if you want to start out on a high note, you list a set of positive things you're going to contribute. You're going to say, "I'm going to do good. I'm going to do A, B, and C. Here's what we're going to try. These things might be risky. We're going to try these things. We're going to try to make a difference." And you don't say one blankety blank negative word.
Which they did on the Medium article. And I
all right.
Okay, they actually, if you had a chance to read the article,
I haven't had a chance.
Okay.
I will admit I've not.
Okay, they have literally laid all of that out, Bob. So they have laid it on out. Super Quest.
Then you need consistency.
Yes. Super Quest, let's get your opinion. I know you're not a UFO guy, but I know you take a big interest in looking at everything around the world of the paranormal, supernatural. What do you think's going on here?
Well, yeah, I'm not a big UFO guy. I mean, even though I've seen the aliens, I just hope that what Jeremy said. I hope he's not all the way 100% on that, because I hope they're not a flash in the pan. I hope this is a organization or whatever they're doing. I hope this is going to last and really start to open up some avenues for us to really learn more about UFOs and aliens and everything like that. So I'm excited. If they're coming on with this energy, and if they're really going to try to be 100% and give us a more of a clear picture, I'm all for that, and I want to learn more about what's going on. So I'm excited for it. I've never heard of them, but I'm going to do research on it.
Right on. You know, they're talking about phases. Phase 1 happened in 2017. Phase 2, they are sort of in right now at the beginning, which is now they got to build the funding. So
yeah,
I personally think Phase 3 is where we get to the experiencers. If everything goes as planned, it could, because Nicole, you had it right, Bob, you had it right, and I really believe this, that it really comes down to the experiencers. That, Bob, you and I had a major talk, and Nicole and I had a separate talk about this about 8-9 months ago, where we were kind of laughing about the way and the direction ufology is taken, because they have been pushing experiencers to the side. We have shows out there that are continually saying every experiencer is a hoaxer and a liar. We have people out on Twitter saying,
"We did it again." Verizon was just named America's most reliable network by Root Metrics for the 16th time in a row, proving once again that nobody builds networks like Verizon builds networks. That's why we're building 5G right. That's why there's only one best network, Verizon. Best and most reliable based on Root Metrics reports from second half 2013 to first half 2021 of 3 operators on all network types combined, not specific to 5G networks.
Every editor knows the perfect video needs the perfect music to make it really pop. Find it easily on Premium Beat, where you'll hear world-class music produced by award-winning musicians. Best of all, unlike other music providers, our license gives you tracks for a lifetime. Pay once and never again. Save 25% on your next track. Just visit premiumbeat.com/royalty-free/podcast to redeem your coupon. That's premiumbeat.com/royalty-free/podcast.
you can't believe anything an experiencer says. You have a lot of people who are against the experiencers in the name of science right now. But I think these guys and many others in this field are actually starting to realize that it's the experiencers who have the true answers to what is going on. We got 90 seconds. Nicole, I want your opinion.
I think they will get to the experiencers, because we're not going to shut up until they do. And I would like to remind the powers that be at large that we have done a pretty good job at advancing ourselves in this community. We don't leave science behind and leave it out. You know, let me remind people of, like the formation of CUFOS by Dr. Hynek from Blue Book, the original charter of MUFON. And let's think of where we've gone from strictly nuts and bolts to the multidimensional ultra-terrestrial theory. And just those of us who are diligent in this community are already pushing the boundaries and saying it's consciousness. So they need to lay out what they're advancing or what they think they need to advance to, because I'm pretty sure we're already there. So what? Are they just going to reinforce what we've been screaming for the last 30 years? So
I think it's
Was
quite
that
possible.
90 seconds?
No, you missed it by about 30, so thanks for now making me talk again. I appreciate that. That's why I have a panel of 7 people or 6 people on tonight, so I don't have to talk. But nonetheless, when we come back from the break, we're going to head north of the border because this is a Canadian show. We're going to talk some Canadian UFOs, and Daniel Otis from Vice wrote an incredible article that came out this past week about Chris Rutkowski and how other Canadians have been denied access to FOIA requests about UFOs, and all of those files seem to end up on the desk of a civilian named Chris Rutkowski. We'll be back right after this on Spaced Out Radio. That's a good first solid half hour, guys.
Okay, we need to. We didn't finish with Skyfork because we need to cover why now, and we already know the answer to why now. Why now? Okay. Why now? We need to cover why now. We know the answer, and I'm happy to give it.
Okay. All right. We'll start with that, and then we'll get into Rutkowski.
Dave, are there significant differences between FOIA up there and FOIA down here with how it works?
No.
Or is it pretty much the same?
It works pretty much the same. It has a little bit of a different name. I use the word FOIA because everybody recognizes the FOIA name.
But the process is pretty much the same, and you guys expect things about in the same speed that we do.
Yeah,
but theirs has more teeth.
Okay.
There's 1,000 exceptions to FOIA in the United States.
Yeah. It's called Susan Goff, number 1.
Yeah, well, she's one. Yeah, but I mean, every agency that has classified has exceptions.
Yeah,
every one.
Goff basically covers everything on UFOs. And the other thing is 2 other things. One is Grant Cameron and Danny Sheehan are involved and heavily represent the experiencers and what they've been going through and everything. Mark Sims is also involved with them. Second, Elizondo has said we have to be patient. We've got things in play. We've been quiet. It doesn't mean that things haven't been going on. It means there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening, but we just have to be patient. It's not going to happen like that.
Right. Yeah.
But we can easily explain the timing. It's easy.
When I FOIA'd my dad's file, and he got out in December of 58, it's interesting. They sent me only part of it. They said, the part you wanted, that's not in St. Louis. And I'm thinking, wow, 1958, where the heck is it? And it wasn't, they didn't indicate that it was in that bit that was missing from the fire because there wouldn't be the partial that they sent me. The whole thing would have been gone and nothing in what they said. So, that's one of my experiences with U.S. FOIA. And that was my own dad's file, and they, didn't want to send me everything. And that's like what?
What's it like? What's it like writing a FOIA request about your dad?
It's just like everything else, but the fact that I was doing a FOIA on my dad's record, I have more rights than a regular person because it's my father. I just fill it out. I just identify myself. This was my father, and I added a little extra in there. It's like I'm also an Air Force officer, inactive reserve. A reserve inactive, and with a security clearance, wink wink nudge nudge, just to maybe on some off chance. The way it can work sometimes is I'd get a call from the local OSI branch 20 minutes from my house, and they'd say, "Hey Walter, we want you to come look at something that FOIA sent us." But no such luck. They just said, "Oh gee, that other part of his record, the part that would have the good stuff, we didn't send that to you."
Yeah, they didn't want you having the juice on your old man.
That's right. So, oh, well.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Tinfoil Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, good boy, Dad. Here's the medical file.
These days, you pass the hat these days to the debunkers.
I like
those
that.
Are the ones you need it because we have stuff that shows the stuff is real, but they want to say everything's a fake. It's time for them to start wearing the tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. If they're going to say, if they're saying they got to distance themselves from this circus sideshow, Then tell us what aspect is the sideshow?
Yeah, what's the criteria? Because it's not
I
right
wanna
to throw
know.
the baby out with the bathwater. God knows I'm critical of
The
what I
other
think is
thing I
BS,
want to know,
but
Bob.
not all of it's BS.
Bob, you always post these little snidbit replies. And yeah, I mean, if you just feel like randomly texting me a name that's never been published or breathed in public air before,
Well,
just
Grant
go
did
ahead.
that. Grant did that, or I wouldn't have responded.
Did he say the name?
Yes, he said the name of a person who is now dead that I
No,
know is a
I don't-
member of the elite.
I know, but you said you've heard the group referred to.
Oh, I
or
know.
died.
I know what the group is called, and I'm
No.
not saying it out loud.
I know.
All right.
That's what
I know they're not only that. Not only
If you
that,
wanna
I know the
message
names.
me-
I know the names of a bunch of them
All
in
right.
history.
I don't
bunch
want
of
to
them
know
now.
the names. I just want to know the
Oh, I'm
name
not
of the
telling you the
group.
name. No, I'm not.
All right, we got 30 seconds here. I want to say a big thank you to Cosmic, Aussie Steve, Dirty Filth, Andrew ×2, Patrick, Space Cow, Aliens, The Unknown, Jefferson, Science Bob, and Black Dragon for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very much. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning on in tonight. We absolutely love you. You always have a safe home here on Spaced Out Radio. And to all our regulars and new listeners, this is a live radio show, and that's why we take breaks. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. If not, we'll pay you for it. And, of course, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. The roundtable continues tonight. Heated debate over the new Skyfort team, which includes Lou Elizondo, Sean Cahill, and other members going silent. But the big question that we need to talk about before we move on to the next subject is why now? Science Bob, I want you to answer this.
Watch Lou Elizondo in the past 3 weeks. No, there was a day when he got all up excited, jumping up and down, got on and talked about stuff from San Marino, of all places. And then here we go, we've got Skyfort coming out. And what is it? The bill with the language that sets up the new department inside the Secretary of Defense's office, fully funded, that they can tap into, is why it's starting now. They want some of that funding.
That's excellent. That's an excellent point.
I know it's. The timing was within 24 hours.
Yeah. It's
It's
like
always got money.
Lou Elizondo, what do you call it, resigning from his job and then walking over to the Washington Post and having the interview.
Yeah, and it's all about that bill. They know it's going to pass. The language is already before both houses. They're going to get their office, and they're going to get their money that Jim Semivan and Lou and everybody else wants.
Well, I mean, does this also understand then why all of a sudden we have heard Tom DeLonge all of a sudden chirping again about UFOs?
Yes.
Thomas.
The answer is yes.
Thomas, you covered this on your show, Disclosure Tonight.
Yeah.
Fill me in.
Tom DeLonge right now is they've been going and they have metamaterials that are being examined by the Army's laboratories right now. So they've got multiple things that are in there, and they're looking at taking that, using it for profit, but they're also giving the ability for the Army to go ahead and use this stuff however they see fit. So, a lot of their stuff was, if you want to call it, shut down in the scientific area and the metamaterials when the human malware virus hit and took over the world. And now we're just at a point now where, they're getting more traction. If there's real funding to take this stuff, and if they have discovered things, it's about taking that new material that they found that's put together, on a molecular level, and they've never seen anything like this, and they have no idea how they'd even get close to making it.
Well, Tom DeLonge's feelings, because within 24 hours of the bill's language being published and found by the typical people that find it and put it on Twitter, Tom DeLonge was tweeting.
Yeah,
know it. It's 24 hours. Tom DeLonge's tweeting.
Yeah, how many millions does Tom DeLonge have tied up in TTSA? He's the only reason the organization is still running. If you look at their Form 10K that they put out that listed all their expenses, you see all these lines of credit and money coming in from DeLonge, and that's the only reason why the organization is going at this point. So, yeah, he was quiet during last November. You couldn't hear anything about UFOs or any of the kind of stuff going on that they're involved in. All it was is the election. At least now he's trying to, take it somewhere. But yeah, maybe it's about getting that back.
Well, that we know he's going to get his book made into a movie. We already know that. He's already said it.
Well, yeah, one of his movies is done. He's
done and in the can.
He's just setting up distribution at this point.
Yeah, they're a media company.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they've got tons of
probably
work
what they should have started out as. I mean, that's what Tom's good at.
They've got books, they've got television shows, they've got movies, they've got a bunch of different stuff. Take it away.
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of goes on here because, I mean, as you said, Tom DeLonge was almost silent for 10 months on this subject, 10 months. And now that he's yapping like a poodle again, I don't feel comfortable with it. John and I have talked about this on the Unbiased UFO Report a couple of times, and I know John has a big, Tom DeLonge poster above his bed and in his bathroom when he's taking a shower and everything like that. I get that about John, okay? But, I don't know, man. I just wish he would go back to Blink 182, I really do. I really do. All right.
Funny, I was never a big fan of Blink 182.
Yeah, sure.
It was okay.
The way you ripped me off the air, don't you dare insult my Tom DeLonge!
It's just fun, man. It's great. If I don't have much news to talk about, I just go, oh, wait, if I can find a Tom story, it'll distract him for the full 15 minutes.
Absolutely. But guys, let's move on here because we have other important topics to talk about on the roundtable tonight. There was a little bit of heat created, finally, in the Canadian UFO world, where writer and journalist Daniel Otis from Vice magazine wrote an article that came out earlier this week regarding a gentleman named Chris Rutkowski. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Chris Rutkowski, he is Canada's top UFO researcher. And every year he publishes a report of the UFO files that have been recorded for that year. And the numbers have been going up and up. He's a very thorough man. He has a bachelor's degree in science and history. He works for the University of Manitoba in the communications department. And when I look at this, okay, this is a man who doesn't like doing a lot of interviews. He doesn't like talking UFOs. He doesn't mind talking his UFO studies, but he doesn't want to get involved in UFO land or UFO Twitter or anything along those lines. But here's the interesting part. In the article that Otis released, it stated that he has, for the last 25 years, been handed, gift-wrapped UFO reports, some of them mildly classified, from the Canada's Department of National Defence. These are the same articles that people like Grant Cameron, Victor Vigiani, Ryan Stacey, and others have been denied requests about. And yet the Department of National Defence in Canada is just handing him over. Here you go, Mr. Rutkowski, who is a citizen. Now, I called my source in Ottawa, who did a little background checking into this. We do know that Chris Rutkowski does not have a security clearance. And number two, this person of my source was very concerned that other citizens in Canada, including him, who works for a national party, and others in that party who are very interested in this subject, could not get information and had their FOIA requests declined. Walter, I want to start with you on this one because you're very big on FOIA requests and digging into information. When you hear something like this, what goes through your mind?
Well, what question popped up in my head was, who's your source to confirm that this guy has no clearance? Because maybe he does. You've got to have access to databases to confirm whether somebody has a clearance or not. And these databases, they're specific databases. And if you've got a clearance, that's the way it is in the States. Now, I imagine Canada has something very similar. You got a clearance, you're in that database. Now, there's different databases depending upon what your level is, but you're in a database. So the person who confirmed this would have to be someone with legitimate access to that. And it's probably better you not name them because they can get in trouble giving you that info.
I cannot name this person, but let's just say that they work in government.
Okay. So, and maybe he doesn't. But after that, I would wonder. I would wonder what kind of perhaps contract Chris Rakowski might have. Again, I don't know how contracting works in Canada. In the States, said that like Lou Elizondo could have left being a DOD employee on Friday and started Monday morning under contract.
Well, let me clarify that.
Government agency.
Both the Defense Department and Chris Rakowski both stated that this has always been a handshake agreement.
Okay.
In the article.
And he claims to be a journalist.
No, that's his partner.
Okay, got it.
That's interesting. I'm very curious about why for 25 years this guy has been, the guy Chris has been getting this, and no one else has. It is interesting. I don't blame you for wondering what the heck.
Yep.
He just asked first, I guess.
Well,
according to him, he made the offer. When they shut down their official program, according, I think, to the Vice article that I read, the Canadian government was closing down all of their programs, looking into it, and Rakowski was like, "Hey, if you get any info, send it my way if you want." And then it took some time, and then he finally got a call from them, and he's like, "Yeah, it's me. I look into that." So. And I didn't mean to butt in, Dave, but can I just point out something, though, to make my UFO boss give me a gold star?
Absolutely. And let's clarify that you work with Grant Cameron.
Correct. That's who I'm referring to as the UFO boss. But, Grant and I were discussing this heavily, and we're cooking up a storm here, seeing where we can light a fire. Because, honestly, let me pose this question that we've been lingering. Like, what is the difference between leaking UFO documents to a Canadian researcher and Bill Moore or Greer or DeLong?
Or Bigelow.
Or, all roads lead to Bigelow. So that's just, he's Rome. So whatever. But yeah, even Bigelow. So there you go.
Bigelow was the U.S. Chris Rakowski for a long time. He wasn't being paid to do it.
Well, except for, I don't know if it was at the same time, but he did have a clearance for some portion of the work he was doing.
Before all of that, he was the spigot through which they poured UFO data, FAA, etc.
Yeah, that stuff. Yeah.
So why are we assuming that this is, okay, let me frame it this way. Those of us who know about Bill Moore also have always said that he is some form of double agent, or he's being played, or he's being fed disinformation. So what, are we not going to sink our claws into that? Are we not, or is it different this time? I don't know. Bill Moore 3.0, 2.4.0. What are we on at this point?
I think it's
Bill Moore got up in front of a MUFON conference and did a mea culpa and said he was employed.
Right. So we'll see.
Thomas, let's get your opinion on this.
Well, I hear where she's coming from. I hear where you're coming from, and I agree with where both you and Grant are. Absolutely. I'm an experiencer myself in so many things. When I had a conversation with Grant for a couple hours on my channel just last Saturday, it was just like checkbox after checkbox after checkbox. There is
We did it again. Verizon was just named America's most reliable network by Root Metrics for the 16th time in a row, proving once again that nobody builds networks like Verizon builds networks. That's why we're building 5G right. That's why there's only one best network, Verizon. Best and most reliable based on Root Metrics reports from second half 2013 to first half 2021 of 3 operators on all network types combined, not specific to 5G networks.
Every editor knows the perfect video needs the perfect music to make it really pop. Find it easily on Premium Beat, where you'll hear world-class music produced by award-winning musicians. Best of all, unlike other music providers, our license gives you tracks for a lifetime. Pay once and never again. Save 25% on your next track. Just visit premiumbeat.com/royalty-free/podcast to redeem your coupon. That's premiumbeat.com/royalty-free/podcast.
And there's a reason why we have these experiencers. It's not just something that happened to us. There's a reason, there's a role, there's something that we're all kind of going through. And if we want to take it to the next level, I completely agree everything. It's all about the experiencers and bringing us together.
It could be. But when you're denying citizens of information and yet handing that information to one sole citizen, that's a big issue, John Hudson.
Is that citizen perhaps pushing the narrative that they prefer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He leans on the skeptical nuts and bolts side of things. And of course, that's the narrative he would push. So,
yeah, that to me, coming from my perspective, that's one of the things too. It's like, okay, what narrative does this guy push? And that could be the narrative they prefer. And it could be that simple.
Well, all he is doing is collecting data. He's not writing stories on this like you would, or Bob would, or Nicole would, or even John or myself.
Yeah, but that might be why he was selected, because they knew he would be a black hole, right? It could be his whole demeanor toward the subject that made him desirable to partner with.
And his narrative is still going to be informed and influenced by what he's seeing, whether he talks the details or not.
Very true. Super Quest. Roy Washington, you're ex-military. You know when it's right to talk up. You know when it's right to keep your mouth shut, I think, like all of us do. For you, when you hear about one person being chosen over many people being chosen, how do you feel about that? Do you think that the government of Canada is doing anything wrong regarding these FOIA requests and denying them, and yet handing the files over to our good friend Chris Rakowski?
I really don't know. My initial response to it was, I guess this guy's going to be the David Pilates of the UFO information, because Dave does such a great job. Maybe there's something about him, and maybe there's something about what he's going to do with this information that's going to make him stand out and take us to another level. I don't know. That's just my uneducational guess on that.
Nicole?
This is the paragraph I didn't like in the Vice article. I'm guessing it's from a Canadian spokesperson. And it says, the decision to provide Mr. Rakowski with reports was an informal process and was done as a courtesy to encourage Mr. Rakowski in his research for his fictional novels.
The thing is, yes,
that's out of order.
Yes, he has written 10 books. Okay?
Yeah.
But what do you need real cases for fictional novels?
Yeah.
You don't.
That changes.
You don't.
Unless you're pushing a narrative.
Unless you're pushing a narrative. Absolutely. Yep. All right. I mean, look, for years, Tom Clancy was harassed by the FBI and the CIA, wondering where he was getting his information from. Because in the Jack Ryan series, if you read in depth into the Jack Ryan series, it is eerily scary that Tom Clancy almost seemed prophetic in events that were going to happen, including Osama bin Laden getting double tapped in a bedroom. And if you read one of his books, it comes pretty damn close to that. And, I don't think that's happening with Rutkowski on this end. I think it's more he was using the reports. He makes one report every year where he puts out the statistics of what he has found, where it's happening, which Canadian province, and that's what he's using the statistics for. But, I mean, in reality, does he need them? It still doesn't make sense as to why they're opening up the doors to just one person. And I know my person in Ottawa is very much wondering what is going on here. Why aren't Canadian citizens getting access to this when one citizen without the security clearance is getting it all? Except for the major top secret portions of, of the reports, pardon me.
For him to work on his novel sounds like the story they agreed to as a cover.
Thank you.
Dave, we've all been doing this wrong, right? I mean, look, Spielberg got information because he was making a movie. Disney got information, they were making a movie. Tom DeLonge, media guy, got information. We've all been doing this wrong. We should all be telling everyone that we're writing books and making movies. Maybe they finally give us something. We've just been taking the wrong approach.
Or are the movies being made specifically for the reason of a form of soft disclosure, where they're giving out this information because...
Well, Bill Moore and others said that.
I'm okay with that. It'd still be nice to get the information.
Right. And that's the big thing.
That's what I think they do anyway.
That's the big thing in regards to it. Now, look, it may not piss you guys off because everybody, is American on this panel except for me. Well, John's a halfer. So, but does it really count? You live in California. So does Walter. So, does it really count? No, I don't think so. But the good part about it is, as we got about 4 minutes here, and then we're going to close the topic. The good news is this is now out in the open. And I know my person in Ottawa was going to be, he told me point blank, this is what's going to happen. Before this subject comes up and into discussion, which if he has anything to do with it, will come into discussion. Because Canada just got out of an election, they have to wait for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to set his new cabinet. And for the first time in his power, it looks like he's going to have a new Minister of Defense because the old one, Harjit Sajjan, got in a lot of trouble right before the election. And so it looks like there's going to be a shift there. So they have to sit there and see, okay, does he put Harjit Sajjan back in the Department of National Defense as the minister, or do they have someone else? Then they have to wait for that person to get a little comfortable, which takes a week or two, and then they go at him. So this actual article by Daniel Otis could actually stir up the entire pot. And the person, my source, has told me they were waiting for something to go at the government with regarding UFOs. And now they have it, all because of one citizen, and that's Chris Rutkowski. So this could all of a sudden be the door opening to this subject being blown open. Now, we've heard it before. It may happen, it may not. But we don't know. Thomas, you got a final word on this?
I think this needs to come out of the hands of the military. We're looking at putting the defense offices and everything, and that was the one thing that I thought Elizondo was kind of doing, at least in the United States, trying to pry it out of the hands of the people in the war machine who only want to use this for war, for weaponization, for nefarious reasons. And that's why I always see humanity really as more the threat of anything with regards to UAP, because if we get our hands on it, history proves itself what we're going to do with it.
Very true.
You don't think UAP technology could be useful for true and good defense?
Sure it could.
Yeah, I don't think it's all. Obviously I'm an Air Force officer. I don't think all military applications of this stuff are for misanthropic evil deeds.
Correct.
Well, it's going to be highly interesting to see what happens as we got 90 seconds to go. Bob, I want you to have the final word on this one. If you were in that position trying to get FOIA requests and getting denied and someone else is getting those same ones you asked for, what would that do for your personal investigation of this subject?
If I were a bunch of Canadians and I wanted to get together, I would sue Rutkowski and the government to gain access to everything he'd been given. Because he does not have some special right.
It's a good way to put it. Nicole?
That's very American of you, Bob.
Yep.
Sue him! Sue them all!
Unless you find out that he does through the suit.
Yep. And discovery is a bitch in the United States.
Yes,
Right.
yes, indeed.
I don't know. I'm excited because haven't we been saying, Dave, and the last year, 2 years, 3 years, it's like, where's Canada on this? Where's Canada on this? And you always get, nobody knows what Canada has because Canada just shuts the F up. Well,
and
now
Grant's story.
Like, we're giving it all to Chris.
Grant's story for 10 years is Canadians just keep their mouth shut. Well,
exactly.
It's true. It's true. Now it's time for this Canadian to tell the panel to keep their mouths shut because we got to go to break here at the top of the hour. We have a great panel tonight on the SOR Roundtable. Science Bob McGuire, fedora-wearing John Hudson from the Unbiased UFO Report. We got our main bodyguard of Spaced Out Radio, Super Quest Roy Washington. Walter Bosley, investigator, author, researcher. Nicole Sakic, author, researcher. And Thomas Fessler, who's in and out right now from the Disclosure Tonight channel on YouTube. When we come back, we're going to talk a little MUFON. Their numbers for researchers are going up. Is this a good thing? We'll continue on Spaced Out Radio right after this. I really thought you guys would be more fired up about that topic.
Oh, I'm pretty fired up, but
What is the latest with Jan Harzan's situation?
Apparently, and I keep in touch with Tom Whitmore about this, apparently they're just waiting for a court date to be set. I don't think it's gone to court yet due to the whole COVID thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everything's backed up.
I spoke at MUFON in Orange County, and he was there. That's the only time I ever met him, and that was, I think, less than a year before this broke. Before what happened, and I'm like,
But anyway, I mean, look, I'm happy for MUFON, but
what's
MUFON? But what's MUFON going to do? What's MUFON going to do to advance the field?
More of the same.
More of and the same of what? I love Tom. He's a great guy. He's really been helpful to me. He's really helped me figure out what to read and so forth as one of my advisors on what to do, trying to catch up since I'm so late into this. But I've got to tell you what, I just can't figure out what good MUFON is.
Well, are some of the better investigators that were more vocal when everything started to openly turn to crap there, have they taken the wheel of the organization? Is maybe the organization going to improve now?
Go look at who runs SCU. It's major researchers, scientists, engineers, etc., that were directors of research or chief field investigators for MUFON are now in SCU.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, Cheryl Costa's book. It's that time of the night again when Nicole
I'm just going
flashes.
to make a quick point. You get rid of MUFON, take away a third of this book. Their reporting system alone deems them necessary till the end of time.
Yeah. I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. That's something good, except they don't give access to it to different researchers.
Even in their own organization, right?
Even in their own organization.
Hey, you got to join it to change the beast. Join it. Join. Because I say this because I have visited so many different chapters within a tri-state area that not one is the same.
Oh, that's true. They're all run locally.
All right.
So
I'm going to show you guys
MUFON
something.
is what you make it. So if you're disappointed in it, join your group and make it what you want.
I'm going to show you guys something here created by our good man, John Hudson, before the show. And he's posted this on Twitter. I think this is absolutely brilliant. Thank you, John. So there we have the entire Hollywood squares of UFOs. Hold on, let me get rid of the comment here.
Oh, that's good.
And I'd like to point out that this sort of thing used to take me a boatload of work, and it still does sometimes. But in the case of this one, this was all drag and drop. Thank you to the wonderful algorithms of machine learning.
Oh yeah, they're great.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
you could take this modern generative adversarial network machine learning algorithms and do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, this is absolutely brilliant. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Making me.
I love it.
It's
I
astounding.
love the octopus beard that they gave him.
And I couldn't figure out whether it was rabbit ears or what kind of weird ears I have with my beard.
You're part. Yeah, aren't you the lead singer of the Flock of Seagulls in there, Bob?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Just remember, their song "Ran Away." That's all about running away from aliens.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And Roy ended up a Greek god, so it's all fair in love and war.
Oh yeah, I like Flock of Seagulls.
Wish I had
Is
that here.
that song really? Nuh-uh. Nobody has ever put that on my phenomenon playlist.
It's on there. Go look at it.
Well,
No, I
Space Age
mean, it's
Love Song,
already
too,
on
the
my
same album.
list, but what's the story behind it? I've never heard. I
So
mean,
now you got to know it's a download.
well, and that's it. I mean, it's not like an encounter because
Well, could be.
I don't know the
Well, I
lyrics.
mean, you can have downloads during encounters. Ask Grant. Ask Grant. Ask you.
I know. Well, that's one I've
All
never
right.
asked Grant about, and it's like
Hold
every
on.
damn band that pops up. We got to talk about Hagar.
Hold on, we will talk about Hagar.
Thank you.
Thank you to Lori, Cosmic ×2, Unknown ×2, Ozzy Steve, Dirty Filth, Andrew ×2, Patrick, Space Cow, Aliens, Jefferson, Bob, and Black Dragon for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show each and every night. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning on in. Hi, Paula W. Good to see you on Twitch. And a big thank you to all the regulars hanging on out for the roundtable tonight. This is a power panel du jour. We don't get this often, but here we go. Well, we got like 20 seconds. I forgot. We don't.
And
I screwed up.
I
Ran so far away. And I
ran.
Our house in the middle of the street. Our house.
House. Oh yeah. Go, Roy. Go.
What are those strange lyrics, though? Aurora Borealis comes in view.
I
There we
can't
go.
go for that.
You can't sing that lyric.
Hi, gorgeous Gene Beckett. Welcome back to the show. We got 10 seconds, everyone. Robert F. Lamoth Jr., welcome back to the chat room. Good to see you. Get your horns up, everyone. We're going to get rocking and rolling. USA Proud, welcome back to the show. Thank you. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Thanks to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cam Steery Camstery is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. The one good thing about this great panel that we have is there is a plethora of opinion that is just second to none. Tonight we are joined by researcher and author Walter Bosley. From Disclosure Tonight on YouTube, Thomas Fessler. Super Quest, Roy Washington. We call him the bodyguard of SOR. From the Unbiased UFO Report, we have John Hudson, Science Bob McGuire, and researcher and now author Nicole Sakic. And we're going to get right into MUFON here, because for a long time, MUFON was taking a lot of hits over the last 10 years or so, especially when it came out that they were selling information to Robert Bigelow and his Bass team, and then it became the front that they were trying to team up with TTSA, and that didn't go over very well with them. Then the Jan Harzan incident. I'm not even going to get into John Ventry and his racist comments that were pushing a bad light on MUFON in general. Jan Harzan, the former leader, arrested last year for potentially trying to lure young children off of the internet, and that case is still in front of the courts in California. But MUFON has been quite silent. But the one thing that we have learned this past month is, because of COVID and people staying at home, and people, due to the media coverage in mainstream, gaining a new interest in UFOs, MUFON's membership has increased, as well as their people who are investigating UFO reports. Now, Thomas, I want to start with you on this one, if you don't mind. You know, is this a good thing for MUFON to try and bounce back to gain some sort of prominence that they are picking up new members?
Well, if anything, it's just by reputation alone. It's not for what they've done. Because, you know, there's been many of investigations, people call in for credible, sightings and different things, and they just get kind of, pushed off to a side. And, that on top of them going and, I guess it's, you look at it, I guess, technically they do own the data that they have, but entering into, deals to go ahead and sell the stuff, shouldn't that stuff be free as part of what MUFON is?
Should be. But, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Walter, you've worked with MUFON, I believe, before.
I've spoken at one of their events, like I was telling you guys during the break a couple years ago. And I actually went to a meeting with the San Diego group right after I got out of the Air Force. They were kind of reluctant to interact with me because I had just gotten out of the Air Force, OSI. I guess I should have to understand that. But
gym sessions and sweaty summer activities are back, which means more funky smells in your clothes, because sweat leaves behind bacteria that causes those hard-to-remove odors. Clorox fabric sanitizer products are ready to zap the stink out of fabrics in your home by getting rid of 99.9% of odor-causing bacteria. Eliminate odors in every load, or sanitize fabrics between washes with one of our fabric sanitizer products. Search fabric sanitizer at Clorox.com to learn more. When it counts, trust Clorox. Use as directed.
Unlike other automakers, we at Ford don't think you should need a 20-minute tutorial to open your glove box. So we made our technology easy to use by making our vehicles available with Blue Cruise hands-free driving, Sync 4, and the Ford Pass app. And the best part? They just work. Built for America. Built Ford proud.
Optional features listed.
My thing with MUFON is, as long as there's a serious leadership change, this is an opportunity for them to maybe go out and actually now forward earn that reputation that they have that you had referred to, Thomas. And as long as they stop pushing people like Corey Good and the like at their conferences and stuff, they've got to separate from that nonsense and just dig into the research and investigation. And you're right, making the data available in some way. I think that would go really far in public appreciation, the ufology public appreciation for MUFON, if they were to just open the database and let people.
Yeah, just really quick. They just put the data, all their videos, all the stuff together behind a paywall. It used to be open, and now you can't get to it.
Not a good choice. I agree with you. That's not smart.
John Hudson.
I really struggle with this because, as I said before many times, I got reintroduced to this whole world 6 years ago. And at that point, let's face it, you look at each one of these incidents that MUFON has had, each one of them would have been potentially destructive. But if everything had been clean before then, people have been like, oh, okay, give them another chance. They've had a series of mistakes that have been bad, right? And so on top of that, you have, all the rumors, all the reputation stuff. The only thing, in my opinion, that's holding MUFON up is the regional places. You meet people in these regional places that are doing fantastic work. They really care, and they work their butts off, and they do a great job, and they're awesome people. And to me, I guess I'm happy that MUFON is getting an increase in membership because I think it gives them one more chance. It gives them one more opportunity to do something good with that, and I hope they do. What I would love to see is what I believe Walter mentioned a minute ago, and I would love to see them essentially, do a poll among the lowest ranking people within MUFON, and get them to, from those ranks, no one above local director, from that pick the entire new steering organization for MUFON.
Yeah.
And just turn it over to the field, and let the field scale what they've done well.
Mm-hmm.
Bob and I once talked and had a conversation about this off the record about a year and a half ago, and and even after Jan Harzan was arrested. And we basically said that MUFON needs a home run hitter to be running that organization. I think what they should have done, and this may sound fleeting now or ignorant or laughable, I think what they should have done was offer the job to Lou Elizondo. I think that would have been a major move to bring some credibility back to the field. You look at their press coverage. Since 2017, MUFON has not released a single press release or even tried to get into any mainstream media to have anybody from their board of directors speak regarding the UAP phenomena that we've seen. You're supposed to be the biggest group in the world covering this, with the biggest database in the world covering this, and we're not seeing you on the media. We're not seeing you trying to get in front of the cameras to get some press time. You've been waiting for this moment for 50 years. How do you drop the ball? It's incredible. Science Bob, take it from there.
Well, it makes no sense to me. And you and I and others have asked people we know on their board, and it is a top-down organization run by the board of directors, who selects a person that they can easily control to be the CEO or general manager, whatever you call the executive director. And it's just it's just too incestuous the way it's currently run. And look, there are other organizations. Send your data to Newfork. Peter Davenport is going to make all that data available, and every time he does it, hundreds of data scientists, etc., statisticians from around the world go off and do machine learning and really, really neat stuff on it.
Yep.
Roy, you've been nodding your head quite a bit.
I just was hearing some great points, and that's the point that stuck out to me, because I think that everyone can have a moment where they can change things around and change the momentum. So having somebody become a fresh face of their movement now to kind of erase some of the mistakes of the past, I think is a good start. Get somebody a fresh face and to represent, and I think that would be great.
Nicole, you want to say something? Yeah, you do. You put your mic on mute.
You're muted.
I said, where to begin? First of all, I don't know. I was pretty hard on MUFON for a lot of years for all of their faults that we've gone through very briefly here tonight. And I've never been a member. I've never joined. But I would like to point out some of the beneficial things other than me, saying their reporting system, which, okay, yes, their reporting system is what it is. But you said report to New Fork. That's great. They don't have any kind of experience or help. Does New Fork do field investigations even? I mean, I said it during the break, I think. Everybody has these faults with MUFON, and you just said the statistic is their membership went up. Well, membership going up is one thing. That's great. But that gives you access to certain data that they have, I guess. But what MUFON really needs is field investigators. I mean, you guys are talking about wiping out people and replacing them. I don't think you really understand, okay, in any given state, there's two directors, maybe 4 if it's an active state. So what? You're going to replace them with who? I mean, they have a hard time getting field investigators. So you have there's 2 people in Illinois that do field investigations for MUFON, the entire state of Illinois. I mean, for all their faults, it's what I said during the break. If you have problems with those things, join a group, devote your time, become a field investigator, and change it.
Well, I think when we're referring to leadership, we meant on that corporate level. I mean, I totally agree with you. In the field, it's a different story, and that's where the respected directors and field investigators are. I think we're referring, when we say leadership,
to the board.
We mean that corporate level. Does Jan Tarzan have a history of being a UFO investigator? I don't know. I'm not aware.
They all do. They all have to be field investigators to sit on the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this kind of like almost rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic? But we're equivalent to, hey, look, there's more people buying tickets because we're charging them to get to a different part of the ship now, kind of. Have they really grown in more for what they do? Is their membership just growing because they put up a paywall? So it's a matter of, how do you judge success?
Well, that's what I mean. Membership might have grown. Anybody can join online and get access to their stuff, but has their field investigator numbers grown?
Do they make it? Do they make it difficult to become a field investigator?
Yes. No, you pay a fee, you train.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Why?
You go.
They should be paying people to be investigators.
I mean,
haven't they heard of PDFs?
How do you do everything for free?
Well, they don't do everything for free. They charge for all the field training materials.
Right.
Okay.
So how do you print stuff for free?
You don't have to print it. There's digital files you can kick it in. I mean, if they're still having to worry about
help them change
doing
it
books,
over to digitally, then who
let's let Walter.
digital files? Who gets paid to change it over to digital files?
Let's get Walter in here.
You guys are asking a lot of a non-profit organization.
You throw it in a scanner, and it comes out as a PDF, and you ship off the PDF.
Files, paperwork.
All right, let's
on the issue of investigators. Okay. I know there's lots of guys like me. I've been a federal investigator. I'm a licensed private investigator. I don't need to pay them for them to just bring me up to speed on how to investigate UFOs. I mean, and there's a lot of people that are already experienced as investigators. I don't need to go through their training to know how to do that. All they'd have to do is say, here's the forms we use. Here's the kind of things we ask. Thank you. I'll look them over. I got it.
So have you looked into that, though?
A while back.
It might be that simple.
And that's where I get my what do you mean? Looked into what? MUFON?
Joining them. Have you looked into your credentials right now are what they want?
When I first got out of the Air Force, just came off active duty from being an OSI agent, freshly experienced federal agent, And they were more worried about being paranoid that I was a man in black instead of, taking advantage of my experience. And that was one of my, that's one of the many turnoffs that I've had in the ufology community. Is these people
you're Rich Doty Jr.
paranoia, this conspiracy theory all the time, paranoia. And it's ridiculous. It's really driven a lot of people nuts and has gotten in the way of progress. But you can't tell them that because they know that you're Illuminati. And it just, it's like you're either all in 1,000% that everything's a conspiracy, or sorry, you're part of the conspiracy. And so, I have tried in the past, and I just, anyway.
I don't know. That's just not the experience I've had with MUFON chapters around here. Like,
admittedly, they asked me to speak 2 years ago, so the different chapters might have a different.
Right. They're just so starved to have anybody. It's like anybody with interest, and
maybe I should try again.
Who's credentialed? Yeah, I'm talking like Missouri, Kentucky, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan. Like, I'm in this little vortex of nowhere. So I have to go 4 and 5 hours for ufology groups. So
I might try again. It might, talking with you now and hearing maybe I should try again, because now people kind of know who I am more. I've written the books. They've had me speak there. So maybe another chapter would be open. And so I'll look into it.
I don't know. Like I said, I've just kind of been lucky, I guess. I know plenty of people have had pitfalls and have run up against these walls. And all I can truly say is it's so different chapter to chapter to chapter.
Yeah. And they're monetizing it like it's a club. They want to. They're monetizing the wrong piece rather than looking at the merchandising or different areas. The people who need to be in there during the work, that's where they're looking to go ahead and bring all the money in. And it's like you've got to change the model completely from what they got and just modernize the organization, because it sounds like it needs it.
But honestly, though, the state directors, what support do they get from the board? Like what value?
Question.
What value do the individual states get from what's above them? Does anyone know?
I have zero.
That's the number one complaint of every state level person I have talked to, in Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, and now Alabama, is they don't get any support from back home.
Well, then, if you can cut the head off of something and the body doesn't notice, guess what? Right? Let the body go do its thing, right? So, before inventing something new, I would say just cut the head off and let the individual states do their own thing for a couple of years and then reevaluate, right? If there's benefit to bringing everyone back together again, then cool. Otherwise, let them do what they do best.
But we are talking about Canada, and you do have the Experiencer Support Association, or better known as TESSA, that's run by Ryan Stacy, and he used to be in MUFON in the United States, and he knows what a screwed up organization it is. That's why he formed TESSA, at least here in Canada, and they're trying to do something as well. So it's just a matter of grassroots movements, and if, like you said, if you can cut off the head and the body can work, maybe it's not necessary.
Very true, very true. But the idea that MUFON is starting to gain a little bit of steam again, I think that is a good thing, bringing in new
it's a good sign.
New people. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have a lot of issues. One of the issues I have talked to Tom Whitmore about is I believe their media PR department is absolutely atrocious and not doing anything to help them out. Not doing a thing. And they need to find a proper media person or have a media person fall in their lap, much like, what's her name with the debrief?
Christine Newton?
Christine Newton, okay? Yeah. Fall in their lap.
No, I think Christine Newton's there, but I think you're really talking about Christina Gomez.
No, not Christina Gomez.
Christy Newman, she's a serious, Newton, Newton, she's got a big interview with a former Area 51 employee, and they wrote a whole article about it in the debrief. Yeah, she's a hot shot. She's a hot shot.
She does some broadcasting still, but she's a great person. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy, alien scientist, has talked with T.D. Barnes a lot too. It's that will be an interesting article.
Yeah, go to the brief and read it.
Absolutely, and they need press. They need something to help clean themselves up. and it just seems like they're satisfied with the board in doing nothing. And hey, once again, I'm many of us on this board and panel are very good friends with Tom Whitmore, who is on that board.
He's a great guy.
And in talking to him, I think we can all agree that there is a level of frustration with Tom as to whether or not this board really knows what they need to do in order to not only clean themselves up, but help build or rebuild the reputation that MUFON needs to rebuild within the community. And we only got 2.5 minutes left, guys.
If you think they're doing anything great in media, go look at their YouTube channel, and it's, I need to watch that so I can go to sleep in 15 seconds. It's awful.
Well,
I didn't even know they had one.
And
it's awful.
But they should be having a YouTube channel. Their YouTube channel should be large. With their membership, they should have close to 500,000 to 1 million subscribers on their channel on YouTube. They should have podcasts, live shows. They could be doing live shows every day on that channel, 2 to 3, just going over reports from each state and each country. I mean,
they did. They had MUFON TV and wanted you to pay $100 a year for it.
Well, who's paying $100 when you can watch fake videos on Secure Team 10?
But I'm just going to tell you, that's how they tried to do it. They had a fancy studio and a fancy desk and fancy people sitting behind the desk, and you had to pay $100, and it was a flop.
Well,
it's the funniest thing ever that you had them, and then you had SETI, and two organizations that, before all this happened, were the primary people to take advantage of everything that's happening, and both of them are just like.
Jonathan Davies in the chat room brings up a good point, because Paul Hynek was supposed to be setting up a 10-person group, and there was a press release released on it, a 10-person group on how to improve MUFON, and that they were going to be working behind the scenes.
They dissolved it.
That included.
They dissolved it.
Did they?
They totally dissolved. Totally. I already talked to 3 people that were on it. They totally dissolved it.
Why is that?
Remember, Jan Harzan set it up, and when he left, it kind of the things that he was about to do, they just ended it.
Well, that makes sense.
I mean, you had look who was you had, like Chris Mellon and Calvin Parker and Kevin Day and Paul Hynek, and it was a weird group to begin with, and they never did anything and dissolved.
Very true. Very true. Guys, we're going to go to a break here at the bottom of the hour. And when we come back from the break, Mystery Wire, owned by George Knapp, came out with a great article that I think we all love about Sammy Hagar, the Red Rocker, talking about his alien experiences since he was 6 years old.
Cool.
If there is one interview I want on this show, even if it's 10 minutes long, I want Sammy Hagar. That's my dream. I will retire, maybe not, after that. Spaced Out Radio's Roundtable, Science Bob, John Hudson, Nicole Sackage, Roy Washington, Walter Bosley, and Thomas Fessler continues right after this. This is a real strong show, guys. Real strong
time
show.
is flying.
Does anyone know the guy that interviewed Sammy Hagar? Does he work? He's not with Mystery Wire, was he?
Yes.
Was he with Mystery Wire?
Yeah, he was. At least he was reporting for Mystery Wire.
Okay, all right. Well, then that means Knapp got it done then.
Oh yeah.
Well, how it happened is Sammy Hagar and his buddies are doing a residency at one of the casinos in Vegas. And they held a big press conference, I'll leave.
Yeah.
Let's leave that for the show here, so we have something to talk about. But that's kind of how it all happened and how it all came together. So
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
How much time we got, Dave?
We got about 4.5 minutes.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
John, I just sent that to you on Messenger if you want to look at it. Yeah, we're Facebook friends.
Oh, isn't that cute?
I had to double check with his picture to make sure it was the same John Hudson, though. Shh, don't tell him.
Come on, Thomas, go back to that 3D image.
Oh, that one? Yeah, I was just clicking through the different stuff. Yeah, that one.
Mhm.
There we go. Cool.
I'm a fan.
Oh,
of that
that's
one.
cool.
I'm a fan of that one.
Yeah, it's just a desktop capture where I have the Windows set, which is taking it and echoing it back. Yeah, it was a mistake, but I kept it because it looked cool.
Walter, you're in this chat a lot, aren't you? Because I recognize your last name, I think.
I jump in. You mean for this show?
Yeah,
I
radio.
When I can catch it, because I have weird. I went through cancer treatment last year, so I'm still recovering from the chemo. I'm all good. I'm all clear, but I have a weird sleep schedule, and I don't talk about it publicly, but I'm almost 60, and I had the condition last year, so I got the vaccine, and boy, that's even made the last couple of weeks. I'm sleeping a lot. Just because, the little bit of the side effects. So, yeah, I try to, sorry about that aside, but...
Gym sessions and sweaty summer activities are back, which means more funky smells in your clothes because sweat leaves behind bacteria that causes those hard-to-remove odors. Clorox fabric sanitizer products are ready to zap the stink out of fabrics in your home by getting rid of 99.9% of odor-causing bacteria. Eliminate odors in every load or sanitize fabrics between washes with one of our fabric sanitizer products. Search fabric sanitizer at Clorox.com to learn more. When it counts, trust Clorox. Use as directed.
We did it again. Verizon was just named America's most reliable network by Root Metrics for the 16th time in a row, proving once again that nobody builds networks like Verizon builds networks. That's why we're building 5G right. That's why there's only one best network, Verizon. Best and most reliable based on Root Metrics reports from second half 2013 to first half 2021 of 3 operators on all network types combined, not specific to 5G networks.
Yeah, as I catch stuff, I try to jump in and comment and see what's going on.
Nice. Well, it's good to see a face with the name.
Oh, thanks.
It took me 6 years to get Walter Bosley on this show. Now I can't keep him away.
There you go.
It's good. It's good.
Walter, I'm a cancer survivor as well.
Oh, you are? Okay,
yes, I am.
good.
I'm gonna give you guys
welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
When my primary first told me it came back, it's cancer. I guess the look on my face startled her. She's like, "It's not a death sentence." And then I found out, honestly, that the what I had is apparently, they told me, the most survived one, and that immediately made me feel better. And I started learning about family, friends, and all these people that had survived it. I'm like, I didn't know this, so I never worried about it after that. I just went through the treatment.
For the longest time, melanoma was a death sentence, and
right.
my mother and my brother, they've had multiple lesions taken off, and they're fine.
And they're good, yeah.
They're fine.
What was your particular?
Mine was cervical cancer, so it was kind of the opposite. It was, thank God we've caught this early. And honestly, it was, I have an that was the difference. I had a friend at the time who was diagnosed, I think, 8 months after I was, and she didn't survive. So, it's just, it's one of those things. But, honestly, what I experienced, led me on this path of, meditation and this, inner journey of learning how to handle, life and death. I was 25 years old when I got diagnosed. And, the fear was I wouldn't be able to have children. And I had
really
options. And I have a son today. And, it's a wonderful,
Who's
wonderful.
A genius. Let's be honest.
Modern medicine is so wonderful.
Yeah, I told people on my live stream and on my social media, I said, look, I've got this. I'm going to listen to my oncologist. Thank you for the concern, but I am not going to be fielding all this advice about don't do this, don't do that, don't do chemo. It's like, I'm going to listen to my oncologist because they're the ones that saved my life, And
I had a team, and honestly, it was so strange. And ladies, listen up. my women's specialist actually like came into the room on a side note and was like, getting your yearly PAPS saved your life.
All right.
Like,
on that note, we got to cut it right there because we are going to go back to the show
awesome.
here, and let's do this thing right now. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking a chance at listening to us weirdos here on the show. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. We got brand new swag for you to check out. We have the SOR Newswire put together by Shirky Poo, and of course you can rock out to Bumblefoot as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with the SOR Roundtable. Joining us tonight are from the Disclosure Tonight YouTube channel, Thomas Fessler. Nicole Sakic is here, researcher and author, and one of the top podcasters out of the beautiful city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Roy Washington. We call him the bodyguard of SOR. We have Science Bob McGuire from the Unbiased UFO Report, John Hudson, and Man in Black himself, Walter Bosley, author, researcher, and yes, he will be staring through your windows just in case you are hiding aliens in your house. And let's rock and roll here a little bit, guys, because Mystery Wire got a great interview with Sammy Hagar, the Red Rocker, former head and lead singer of Van Halen. And I don't know about you guys. I know we're going to start this debate right now. I was more always a Sammy Hagar guy than a David Lee Roth guy. But Sammy has never been very quiet about the fact that he is an ET contactee. One of the greatest songs he's ever written about this is with Van Halen on the 5150 album called Love Walks In. And if you haven't seen the lyrics to that song, I highly recommend you go on YouTube, type in Love Walks In lyrics, and check it on out. It is amazing. So this reporter with Mystery Wire is in Vegas, and Sammy Hagar is holding a press conference because his band is going to be having a residency there. So after all the questions were done, this reporter actually had the great idea to ask Sammy if he would talk about his alien experiences. Sammy said his first one happened when he was 5 or 6 years old. They still happen to this day. He recognizes the beings from little grays to humanoid-type beings. And he did end up saying, I don't talk about this a lot because there's a lot of people out there who will think I am crazy. So experiencers aside, I would love the fact to have Sammy Hagar come on this show and tell his story. And I'm really even more surprised that nobody in Hollywood has even approached him to make a movie off of this because of his name. Do we need, Roy, I'm going to start with you on this one. Do we need more famous people like Sammy Hagar who've been around forever, coming out and telling about their experiences?
Yes, I believe so because they're celebrities and people tend to really gravitate toward what they have to say on all topics, on any topic in life. So to have somebody like him come out and say that he experienced something like that makes it easier for someone who's basically unknown to feel like they're not crazy and to feel like they could be accepted if they come forth with their story. So I think it's beautiful for him to come forth like that and tell his story. And the lyrics to the song is beautiful, very beautiful.
What would it mean? You're a rapper on the side. You've made a couple of albums, and I've heard your music. It's fantastic, by the way. What would it mean for you if fellow rappers or hip hop artists, going back to the days of Run DMC on forward, started coming out and saying, "Look, this is happening to us as well"?
Like I said, it would be in the world, because there are people that hold a lot of weight with their celebrity status. So then it makes you think that you're not crazy. I think a lot of the people throughout the years have experienced things and have held it in because scared of being ridiculed. But if you have somebody who you look up to and admire, say, "Hey, I went through the same thing," it gives you a little more confidence to share your story and share your experience. So that's a beautiful thing.
All right, Nicole, let's get to you on this one, because I know you're an experiencer. I know your story, and many of our audience already knows your story about this. But what does it mean to you when you hear Sammy Hagar coming out talking about this? Is it good for ufology?
Yes, it is good for ufology. And I always get a little excited, I guess, because this gives me more to dive into. And you know that I've been digging into this underlying music and ufology theme for a couple of years now. And I've really been hitting it hard over the last year. And I don't know, this might end up in a book. I'm not going to say anything more other than this is important because when they share their stories, it's like Roy said, people hear it and they can go, "Oh my God, I've experienced this too." But what I've been trying to push the envelope on is there's something about artists and this phenomenon, whether there's a oneness, a love message that's coming from. But what I find with musicians is that their message, however it's reflected, their experience, seems to be timeless. Like the artists that have had experiences in the 60s and 70s, not only have their songs been number one hits, but more often than not, their album has, and their career has also stood the test of time. And their music also gets continued by a next generation, like their songs get covered. So this message somehow, not to sound too woo, but is part of this awakening that I think we talk about with this, "Oh, that's too new age to say." But I mean, what better way to pass on, messages to influence and change generation than through art and music and a culture? You have to affect a culture until you're really going to change it. You have to impact it. So that's what I want to hear. And I don't know, he might not even know how to describe his experience, and he won't know that till he talks to, his fellow community about it. So I will race you for that interview. Touche, dueling interview pistols at dawn.
This is what we need to do. We need to go to Vegas on a media pass and afterwards sit down and interview him regarding the experiences. That's the way we need to do it.
Yep.
I'll ask the questions, you drink the booze. Deal.
Well, there's going to be a lot of tequila if it regards Sammy Hagar, that is for sure. Walter Bosley, I want to get you in here on this one.
Well, I agree with everyone that it really is important when well-known people. I mean, I think Kurt Russell fessing up that he was the pilot that reported Phoenix Lights was a real boost to the Phoenix Lights case and witnesses. No matter what you think Phoenix Lights were or were not, that was a big deal for Kurt Russell to fess that up. And I think, again, for the reasons already said, it always helps. It always helps when these folks do that because, regular folks, for whatever reason, that makes them feel more comfortable and they look up to these folks.
Very true. Very true. I would love to see more more experiencers come out, not only from the music world, and it doesn't have to be UFOs and aliens, but, a couple years ago on Halloween, our music guy, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, talked about playing at Plovdiv, Czech Republic, and he had never, ever fallen on stage. And he said there was something on stage in this theater that was literally created in the 1600s that they were playing on, an outdoor venue, and there was something on stage that was bothering the band members. The keyboardist to Sons of Apollo had his sunglasses knocked off his head during the show, and then when they were performing Comfortably Numb, the version from Pink Floyd, Bumblefoot went to do his solo, and he was actually shoved down from behind and tripped during the solo. And he has never, ever fallen on stage before. And right before that, these guys play expensive gear. They're not going to the local pawn shop and picking up a $300 guitar. You know what I'm saying? Bumblefoot's equipment is, I don't even know the price of his guitar. But he was saying that his guitar is created where it does not go out of tune. And almost every song, for like 4 or 5 songs in a row, his top string on his guitar was going out of tune. And that didn't make a lot of sense to him. So I would love to see a culmination of a lot of these artists coming together and bringing their stories to the forefront, even though they do have to go through the ridicule and the skepticism and the unbelievers and everything. Thomas, I want to get your opinion. We don't hear you, buddy. He's not muted.
Taking a look at, from a big picture, we definitely need more people in music. We need more people in Hollywood, and we need more people of notoriety that can reach a very mass audience of people. That can go ahead and help normalize it to a degree, get more people comfortable to talk about it, and make it something that's more of a topic that's more talked about versus something that's ridiculed to a big degree. Because a lot of people, growing up my entire life, anytime I would want to bring up the stuff that happened between I was 5 and 8, and no one wanted to hear it, and they always thought I was making everything up. But the shit happens whether we like it or not. They come and go where they want. They take who they want. They do what they want, irrespective if you don't have a say in it. And it's something that goes along with you. And and I have to say, I'm sure Hagar knows exactly what happened to him, and he can talk about it. He doesn't have to hear other people that talked about it. But what happens is you start getting check boxes that you're checking. Hey, that's the same as me. That's the same as me. Hey, that's the same stuff that went on. And you start seeing these patterns, and it brings a greater understanding to the people that are there. And out of that, you can get them to maybe open up more and even, bring more people into it, because, there's a lot of things that we don't understand that we all go through. There's a bigger picture to all this. But it's like any kind of experience to go through. If you don't have someone to reflect with, to understand it, to see the stuff that you can't get into it in your own mind, I think he's just, like you're saying, Dave, get a press pass and get back there and, get them to open up.
You know what? That's a good thing, though. But it was brought up by a couple people in our chat room tonight. Why do we need celebrities or government officials to tell us this is going on? Why are we taking regular everyday experiencers and we're immediately yelling at them, that didn't happen, you're lying, you're making this up, you're full of it. And yet if Sammy Hagar comes out or someone else comes out that's famous saying, hey, I've got aliens, or I've got ghosts, or I've seen Dogman or Bigfoot, we're like, oh my God, it is real because so-and-so saw it. So-and-so saw it. Go ahead, John.
You have notoriety.
That's just being human. That's just being human. Look, whether we like it or not, people that have X million followers, a lot of what's happening is people are putting them up on a pedestal and saying, we trust your judgment. Now, no one likes to think about it that way, but that's basically what it's saying. And so if you have, and forget, let's even put that aside for a second. If you have some experiencer come out that nobody knows, and you try to publish an article about what they did, the only thing causing that article to spread is the content of the article. which, may or may not fly. But you get someone that has this huge following, their entire world is going to review that, and you're going to have a percentage of those people that are going to be able to relate and understand it. And so what you end up with is an incredibly larger statistical opportunity to actually get the message out to people that will be able to relate to it and understand it.
And people respect when the famous person is willing to risk their popular reputation by it.
Which is ironic. Because, if you really think about it, right? Okay, so the rock star that got caught doing what on who with which is now worried that his reputation is going to be ruined because he saw a UFO?
No, that's never been the case with entertainers.
Not all celebrities have a bad reputation for doing shenanigans.
Exactly.
No press is bad press when you're a celebrity or an entertainer. No, they're not going to be ran out on a rail like that. Honestly, you guys are talking left brain and right brain here. Musicians and artists are right brain, creative people, and they have no problems with going, this is what happened. I don't care if you think I'm crazy. Now, the scientists and everybody we want in the field, even if they are experiencers, are so left brain that they're inhibited, and they have to try to have a logical, rational explanation for their experience. And they are the ones that hide behind I can't talk about this because I'm going to be criticized or I'm going to be laughed out of my profession. Like, musicians don't care.
But everyone does have lines. And there's a lot of musicians that have had experiences that for some reason don't want to talk about, or they might have political views that they don't want to talk about because they're against the norm, right? So all I'm saying is that there are some musicians that do have lines that they'd rather not cross, and then other lines that they're willing to dance right over with no problem whatsoever, right? Sure. And the thing is that from a statistical point of view, we know that the population has a certain percentage of people that have had some kind of experience. If you look at the entire music field, how many people have actually come out and said they've had an experience? Very few, which means there's a significant number of musicians that have had an experience that haven't felt safe enough to talk about it yet. Right. And maybe now they will.
That's reasonable.
Right? Are you really saying that you don't think that are you really saying that all the musicians that have had an experience have already talked about it because they feel they should feel? I don't think that's the case because there hasn't been that many.
Yeah. I think there are more than they even realize. Because when you're talking about the phenomenon, you're not just talking about, I saw a blinky in the sky. Like, we're talking about all forms of high strangeness here. So as more people talk about this, like we said earlier, and relate these coincidences or synchronicities to what they've experienced themselves, then that's when they start diving into this world. Like, I just interviewed this wonderful woman named Alexis Johnson from the UK, and her experience is all about like co-creating art and co-creating art with the oneness in mind, like the ultimate consciousness, that. And one thing we discussed with artists is that there is a big giant ego at play. Like, a lot of artists don't want to admit that they channel what they create, or what we call a download experience. And musicians talk about it as, the song just popped in my head and I had to write it down and I had to get it out. And we describe that as a download. So I think there's a whole world of artists out there that don't even realize this connection to the phenomenon and don't know really.
Gym sessions and sweaty summer activities are back, which means more funky smells in your clothes because sweat leaves behind bacteria that causes those hard-to-remove odors. Clorox fabric sanitizer products are ready to zap the stink out of fabrics in your home by getting rid of 99.9% of odor-causing bacteria. Eliminate odors in every load or sanitize fabrics between washes with one of our fabric sanitizer products. Search fabric sanitizer at Clorox.com to learn more. When it counts, trust Clorox. Use as directed.
The perfect video needs the perfect music. That's why Premium Beat tracks are produced by award-winning musicians at world-class studios. Plus, our license gives you tracks for a lifetime. Pay once and never again. Save 25% on your next track at premiumbeat.com/royalty-free/podcast.
How to describe the experiences that they're having except through their art. So
cool. I can tell you personally, I've had download experiences my entire life, and I've never considered them download experiences. As far as I'm concerned, they've always been just hints from my subconscious. That's how I've always viewed it. I've gotten 3D models. I've gotten solutions to engineering problems. I've gotten entire answers to questions that I shouldn't have even known anything about. And it wasn't until I was already saying it that I was like, what? Where did that come from? And I'm already speaking it, right? And that's been happening since I was like 5, and I've never considered those download experiences. I mean, I don't care if I call them download experience, but in my mind, I still don't consider them to be coming from any aliens. As far as I'm concerned, they're coming from essentially my higher self, my daemon, my subconscious, exactly. Whatever you want to call it.
Like a comedian, I'll kick it back to the first 15 minutes. Like, this is what I was saying, where people don't necessarily realize that there's more to this phenomenon. Like,
Yeah, no, I was offering evidence for what you said.
No, and that's what the general public doesn't get. So if we're going to push this envelope forward, like, this is the territory. Like, everybody has these experiences. It's ET might be the word we use, or aliens, but those of us who have been in the field, who have been pushing this envelope, we're already talking consciousness. It's consciousness. It's
and there's beings other than ETs and the archetypes in our consciousness too. That
very true.
You know, the nuts and bolts people in ufology don't want to hear about. My UFO experience was entirely occult related, occult research related, and you know, that's just, people would rather, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people would just rather hear about the ET experience. Or I'll say that, and somebody will want to recharacterize my experience to tell me, oh, no, that was ET. So I'm like,
right,
you weren't there. You weren't there for the whole context of, you know, it happened at the end of 7 years of intense, weird occultness and synchronicity, you know. So there's a whole spectrum, and that's something we haven't even addressed. There's a whole spectrum, really, of what these experiences are.
And Walter, we're seeing more and more of that, as Thomas could attest to, of people out there creating these channels, these blogs, these videos or whatever, completely attacking any experiencer on social media regarding this phenomena, where everything we are saying as experiencers is not to be believed and not to be trusted. And if you're out there talking about your experiences publicly, you're immediately pointed at as a liar.
Wow.
Thomas, go ahead.
Yeah, that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And that has an agenda behind it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, well, there's people out there, their agenda is to literally tear down as much as they possibly can. They don't care who they threw under the bus. They don't care how many babies are with the bathwater. Their job is to take anything, call everybody a liar, whether you're an experiencer of someone who's gone through abduction, or you're officer from the Air Force who's flown an FA-18, you know, going and pursuing the phenomena. So it's just a matter of, you know, looking at it from a perspective that, you know, sometimes when you got these morons out there who just don't want to listen and they just want to, you know, be in this negative spin, let them go off and spin. Don't let them bother you. And if they're going to do their stuff, let them do it. Focus on the positive. Focus on what we can to get where it needs to.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with using discernment and being critical on a case-by-case basis, because quite frankly, ufology has also been led astray by a lot of charlatans and liars and snake oil salesmen.
Yeah.
But you got to do it on a case-by-case.
Yeah.
You know, I might criticize this person or that case, but that doesn't mean I disregard then other cases that when I've looked at them, I'm like, okay, this one seems authentic and reasonable.
But if you're talking about people who, like in social media, who are other YouTubers and stuff, they're actually just taking this and throwing the frickin' shit from the monkey on everybody without doing the research, without doing the due diligence.
Right, and without using case by case discernment, you know. It's like these days in ufology, there's and in general paranormal, etc. You're right. There's a lot of people in the community that it's either or. You're either all in or you're all out. You can't be, well, this amount is reasonable, this is not, this amount is reasonable, this is not. You can't do that. Oh no, because they want you to be black or white with this thing. You know?
But this thing is far than black and white. I mean, but they have
right,
seen
exactly.
People who have experience with the phenomena, something with the ETs, their ability of what they sense, it broadens and expands. And people who have the experience with the Dave.
We got to get going here on the break here. So I appreciate that. Our guests tonight, Science Bob McGuire, Walter Bosley, Roy Washington, Nicole Sackage, Thomas Fessler, and John Hudson. We'll be back with the roundtable and the final hour of it right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
The toothless meth head who's on the corner who's a moron. You just have to. Sometimes you have to walk by when they're throwing the insults. Consider the source where it's coming from, and just keep on walking.
Right. Like, I mean, I think those loud mouths are always around, though, and none of them really stand the test of time. It's just a new loudmouth pops up because it's the same regurgitation every single time, and it's what like people. I'll like Don Schmidt calls them armchair researchers, like people that won't they'll like Google anything online, but they won't read an actual book or go out in the field and actually talk to somebody. It just is what it is. And,
there's not a lot of the critics that are willing to like call organizations, do document search. There are a couple. There are a couple who are critical of some folks that they do their due diligence. They,
No, there are some great skeptic ones online, especially these days. But I would say probably the most annoying ones are like are like a reiteration of no class, Philip J. class, and that's just, when you can't attack the subject, attack the person type person.
I was actually really impressed. A couple months ago now, Mick West reached out to me, and he's like, I'd just like to get some feedback on you on like essentially why you don't believe me, and asked.
I don't dislike Mick.
We ended up getting on a Zoom call, and we ended up talking for we scheduled it for a couple of days later, but we ended up talking for probably 3 hours and had a really good conversation. And, he was very polite and it was a really nice conversation. And I was just, more than anything else, I was just, at some level what he was trying to get me to do was he was trying to get me to poke holes in his argument so he could hone his argument. It was really what he was trying to do. But it was still nice that he, reached out and actually wanted to engage at some level,
No, that's great. No, and like digging around in Stanton Friedman's files for Grant, like that's one thing that I've noticed about kind of this era gone by when people had to handwrite these arguments to each other and have these debates via snail mail. It's like, oh, wow, like this happens in 10 minutes on Twitter these days. Like,
hold on a second here. Fessler, where the hell is our drumsticks? You dirty bastard right now. You dirty bastard. Quest and I are sitting there looking at you like, yeah, we'd like some of that drumstick too,
Yeah. It's just right 10 feet away in the freezer, so.
You jerk.
Dave, jerk. You know what I have a bowl of right here?
Hold on, I can't see with you shaking them. What is that?
Unicorn poop.
Oh, my God.
It's a thing.
And, of course, Nicole's dog's going to bark now. This is a great show, guys. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic radio tonight.
Absolutely.
Gorgeous Gene Beckett, yes. Roy Washington, as in Leroy Washington in the chat room. And Roy, just because you're on this show doesn't mean you can't yell in the chat room, take us home, man, because I need that every night, man.
For sure.
Uh-huh. Max Ritchie, how are you? Welcome to the chat room, man. Alien Critter, good to see you again.
You know, one thing I think it was Grant that said that I thought was kind of interesting about, just the Friedman stuff was just and maybe the Stanton stuff that she can maybe comment whether it's still the case, was that you had all these debates going on, but no one ever seemed to change each other's mind. Like there never seemed to be any movement on anyone's position through all those years of correspondence.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. The unfortunate part for all of us in ufology is right when they started getting into the meat and bones of the Friedman files, COVID hit. And New Brunswick has been pretty locked down since then. Greg.com, welcome to the chat room. We got about 45 seconds here, guys. I know, Chad Smith, that drumstick, absolutely, that drumstick. We're all salivating here because of Fessler right now, you dirty bastard. All right, moving on here. I want to say a big thank you to Spooky, G West ×2, my guru Pascal, Lori, Cosmic Unknown, or Cosmic ×2, Unknown ×2, Ozzy Steve, Dirty Filth, Andrew ×2, Patrick, Space Cow, Aliens, Jefferson, Bob, and Black Dragon for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. We actually have another minute here because I forgot what break we were on. But I want to say a big thank you to all of you for helping us out, and it's really, really appreciative. 2A Freedom, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah.
I'm Chad Smith.
I'm Chad Smith.
Me.
You can't be Chad Smith.
Nicole, is there going to be an attempt to digitize all of Stanton's work and put it up into an online database?
Well, that is part of the project because when Grant goes, what he does is takes a photo picture. Okay. And so part of what I do, and granted, I do not do it a lot these days, is manipulate these pictures because he does it so fast. Some of them are blurry, some of them are crooked, some of them I have to adjust to even be able to read. So yeah, the idea, and honestly, anything that has been coherent so far, Grant has done like a PowerPoint on it, and it is in the public.
Nicole, I gotta shut it down. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to remind you that if you're listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, we are so appreciative. And if you're on our terrestrial affiliates, welcome. And, of course, on our digital networks, TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Just go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Camstery. Camstery is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with our great panel tonight, as we do it once a month near the end to talk about the month that was. And tonight is really a full UFO show because so much happened in the month of September regarding UFOs. Let's just call it what it is, UFOs. It's so much more fun to call it that. Our panel tonight, from Disclosure Tonight, Thomas Fessler, Walter Bosley, who is here as an author, researcher, former Man in Black, and, of course, our SOR bodyguard from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, height unknown, weight unknown. We have Roy Washington, John Hudson, from the Unbiased UFO Report, Science Bob McGuire, and of course Nicole Sakich, author and researcher. And I want to start with you, Science Bob, on this one. Or Science Bob dropped out. I guess we're not going to start with Science Bob on this one. We're going to get straight to Walter Bosley. We'll start with you on this one because Elon Musk, 2 weeks ago, literally set the world on fire again, which he seems to do on Twitter every now and again, where he responded to a tweet saying, UFOs are real. I mean, that just set everything off course, because Elon Musk, through the whole entire SpaceX program, has been in denial when asked whether or not aliens are real, UFOs are real. Is he going to get into this subject? He's always been in denial. He said he's never seen any proof through anything, doesn't believe they exist or that they are here, and then he throws out the tweet. But he's known to do that. Walter, I want to get your opinion on the way the UFO world and UFO Twitter went nuts over Elon Musk's tweet.
Well, honestly, this kind of mystifies me, because we've all been around in this subject, interested in it for a while, whether we've been public with it or not. And to me, what I'm confused about is this recent theme of, oh my God, UFOs are real. I thought we all understood that for decades now. I thought this had already been talked about publicly, that we know these things are real. It's what are they? I mean, UFOs are real is something that was stated clear back to the 50s. So, to me, all this spin up about, oh my God, they're real. I'm like, where have you people been? But on the issue of, Elon Musk is Elon Musk. So people are interested in what he has to say, because especially what he's doing, which I find very exciting, because I believe humankind's destiny is to leave the planets and go out in space. And it's going to happen for the common man when non-government people like Musk venture into what he's venturing into. And because of what he's doing, immediately I think they're excited, because it's like, wait a minute, here's a guy who's putting stuff out there. What does he know? What has he seen to make him say that? I think that's where the excitement's coming from on that. And I think that's what it's all about, because he's got the credibility with what he's doing with SpaceX, right? That's his company.
Yeah, he's got notoriety. I mean, imagine you have someone like Elon Musk. You have someone like Tim Cook. These are big leaders of big companies. They have a lot of influence in everybody's lives. That's the kind of celebrity. I mean, I was saying about Hollywood, but it's really about people with notoriety, people with celebrity, even though they're just celebrity for who they are and the jobs that they have and what they do and what they've accomplished. Those are the ones who have that broad reach to bring into everybody. Yeah, there was a lot of excitement on UFO Twitter, but it's imagine of all the people who aren't involved in that are just Tesla fans or other things with SpaceX. Right. It just, it resonates and lifts us all up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk is a modern day, what's the name I'm looking for? The guy who created flight, not created flight, but from the 30s and 40s, had his child.
Lindbergh?
Lindbergh. He's a modern-day Charles Lindbergh, okay? And he is using technology and social media to his advantage, and he knows that when he speaks, people listen. Look what happened.
He's more of a modern-day Howard Hughes, I would say.
Or Howard Hughes, exactly.
I would say Edison, but definitely
Edison,
someone.
Yeah.
But just the fact that, look what happened to Dogecoin when he typed out buy Dogecoin. Dogecoin went crazy, absolutely crazy. He made multi-millions off of it just by that tweet.
It's about money.
He understands Twitter. Elon knows how to use Twitter, but in this case, he screwed up, because essentially the reason why he said they're real UFOs is it was a joke rebuttal to a thread he was on, and I think I said that when you and I were talking about it, Dave, that I didn't think he was being serious. And as evidence that I'm likely right, he deleted that tweet. He pulled it afterwards.
Pulling a Tom DeLonge.
And sorry, go ahead.
Pulling a Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, totally. And the thing is that, but the one other reason why it's important is that I've seen people and look, I come from a slightly different point of view, because I've been hearing about and bumping into Elon for a long time, because he was in the Bay Area, PayPal and so forth. So I don't put him on the same pedestal I think a lot of people do, but the challenge is that a lot of people do, and so I've seen people actually make the argument that UFOs aren't real, because Elon Musk doesn't believe in them. And he obviously knows everything. And he's obviously read into everything. And he obviously knows all that's going on. And so therefore, if he doesn't think UFOs are real, they're not. And so that's where it gets pulled into the conversation in many places. People start using him as a pawn to justify their argument as to whether UFOs are real or not. And so as soon as he says they're real, even if it's a joke, everyone jumps on and goes, "Oh, but see, look, I told you." Even Elon believes, right? And it's unfortunate. And and quite honestly, like I don't even like. I was really confused as when that whole like smoking pot thing happened, and they talked about pulling his clearance, because I don't even know what kind of clearance he can even have, because he's not an American citizen. So I don't quite like, I don't know what kind of clearance he actually holds, and ultimately it's SpaceX that needs the clearances, and he doesn't actually run SpaceX. There's a brilliant woman that actually runs SpaceX.
Foreign-born or foreign nationals.
He's Canadian,
doing business with a particular government that's not their native country. At least in the United States, they can get security clearances. I mean, I worked with these folks when I was a Russian translator for the Bureau, and it all depends on what they're doing. And if because doesn't he have some contracts with NASA?
Yes, he
well,
does.
no, he's actually launched military satellites. So
well, there you go.
I know, but I don't know.
He's got to have a clearance.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but
degree.
I don't know if. Yeah, no, but I guess my point was I don't know if he specifically needs clearance because of the fact that it's actually this other woman, I can't remember her name right now. I feel bad. She's brilliant, who really runs SpaceX. But to that point, just really quick, is it basically like a DoD handed out clearance? I mean, is it a
If you want to take your vehicle's performance to new heights, you got to give it peak. Like our original equipment technology, antifreeze, and coolant. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle. That's one reason why Peak is among the fastest growing brands of coolant in America. We work harder to earn the trust of people like you every day. That's Peak Performance.
We did it again. Verizon was just named America's most reliable network by Root Metrics for the 16th time in a row, proving once again that nobody builds networks like Verizon builds networks. That's why we're building 5G right. That's why there's only one best network, Verizon. Best and most reliable based on Root Metrics reports from second half 2013 to first half 2021 of 3 operators on all network types combined, not specific to 5G networks.
So it's standard thing where either the company has to be cleared and they have their own tickets, or they have to get an outside sponsor of some sort. Okay.
No, they go because he's got Americans working for him, right?
Can I clarify something? Elon Musk is a triple citizen. He's a citizen of the United States, a citizen of Canada, and a natural-born citizen of South Africa.
And so that's what I was confused about, because when I was going to get a Q clearance, I was told that if I had dual citizenship, it would prohibit me from getting clearance.
Who were you going to get it through? The Department of Energy or who?
Sandia was sponsoring it.
Sandia, okay. Yeah, I had mine through Department of Energy.
I mean, we couldn't even get on a base. Like, we had employees that couldn't get onto bases because they had dual citizenship. Dual citizenship, and if you relinquish your dual citizenship, you were still put on hold for like a year or two before, and that's not even for clearance. That's just to get onto a base.
Yeah, well, you have to remember, Elon's the top guy with his company, so they're probably going to make exceptions for him, because I guarantee you, even if he has the woman engineer you're talking about running certain things, he is briefed in on everything that his company's involved in.
And if SpaceX is cleared, then all the executives have to be cleared. Like,
depending
that's one of the
upon
reasons
what they're
why
exposed to, yes.
It's so hard to actually get your company cleared, because you actually have to have a company where all your executives are not so crooked that they can actually get a clearance.
Right. They all have to go through an SSBI. And,
which is not easy.
But depending upon what they're exposed to will determine what their tickets are. And then, that it really is greatly dependent upon what their specific gig is.
Sure. Yeah. But I mean, it matters to people what Elon thinks. And so if Elon believes, then they feel safer to believe. If Elon doesn't believe, then they have reason not to.
I thought the major problem Elon got into when he smoked pot was with the SEC, not the government.
Well, it was actually basically
the Securities Exchange Commission.
It was multiple levels. I know that I know that there was the Air Force requested a review, and that through the process of the review, the give back that Elon gave was that he agreed that he basically agreed that SpaceX employees would have to start getting money yearly drug tests. So basically, the SpaceX employees paid for his transgression.
Now, how many years? What was the span of time between when he did it and when it became a concern to the government? Because I know with federal agencies,
months.
Oh, it only been months.
Oh yeah,
federal agencies, it's got to be like 5 years.
No, I think it was a month after the Joe Rogan show.
Oh, that's right, because
the Air Force announced that they'd announced a review of SpaceX.
Yeah, because if it's been 5 years or longer, then they're like, okay, and you got to tell us about it, because the number one thing is don't lie to them. They'd rather you tell them I did it 2,000 times up until 5 years ago. Okay, cool. You lie to them. Believe me, I used to do the background investigations for a while. The investigator's going to find out, and that's what.
Okay, well, let's just point out the obvious, though. Pot culture has completely changed in this country drastically over the last couple of years, especially. So that's all I'm going to say. So, I mean, that may or may not affect things.
Oh, I take THC gummies, and
I wish McGuire was
last year
here
with cancer.
He could kind of say, I know, after X amount of time, you're allowed to kind of do whatever you want. And I know somebody who was involved with the government, just noted a couple months ago that they've been retired so long, and they can smoke pot now because it's legal in the state that they live in, which is something they couldn't do before. So
right. That's what I'm saying. The
clearances that they hold. So
I never had a joint to my lips ever. And never ingested any of that until last year when I was going through cancer treatment and started using THC gummies, because it was like, you betcha, if that stuff helps cure me, I'm eating those gummies, And
they'll make exceptions too. I know there was certain teams that were being hired for on the security side of things where they were completely bypassing all the rules, and you could actually be an active smoker. So I mean, there are exceptions made in certain circumstances.
Where'd you hear that?
I saw it in writing. It was basically I believe it was either the NSA or the CIA, and they basically said that they've just realized that they can't hire top hacking talent and still have this requirement. It was causing them recruiting issues.
Okay, I'll bet you that's not for case officer jobs.
Oh no, these were very specific. This was red team, blue team, computer security type stuff.
Computer guys, CCI guys. Okay, maybe, but not
it was crazy. Most of us didn't believe it was real. We all went huh? What?
Now, this document, was there provenance on this document? Was it a legitimate document? Because
I looked. I mean, I wasn't applying for the job, so I didn't really look into it. But
because I've been in that world, multiple agencies, and that just doesn't.
We were
sound
shocked.
kosher.
No, we were. Everyone was flat out shocked.
Yeah, I have my doubts about that because they don't.
I mean, it was like I said, I didn't look into it. So it may have been sort of thing where they said you can be smoking it up until today, but from this point on you can't. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know any top people in that field that don't. So I don't know how you would hire into that out of that. I don't know how you'd hire people from that.
When
world.
you say you don't know top people in that field who don't, you mean who work in national security?
No, I'm saying who work privately.
Privately.
They would want to recruit
all day long.
Yeah.
Hey, to swing this back to Elon for a second, what I will say is that it was just a few years ago where it was very billionaire playboy ego-ish of him to say, and don't quote me verbatim, but he did say something along the lines of, if there were aliens, I would know.
Shoot, he did a Bob
what I mean?
Bigelow.
Like me,
yeah.
I'm up there, I'm doing all this blah blah blah. I would know. And
Yeah.
what I will say, notably, is that there has been a drastic change in this man's ego over the last few years. I mean, he has sold his properties. He now rents. Like, I mean, he's ready to be gone. Like,
Not all of his houses.
this decline and this like materialistic, like money,
Right.
which is a side effect of having an experience.
Yeah.
So-
That statement of if something I would know, boy, that gets people in a lot of trouble, because I remember Commander Fravor. I'm sorry, if I was in a bar with Commander Fravor, I'd say, every time you say that crap, that if America or the Navy had this, I would know. I'm sorry, Commander, that's BS, because you, as a hotshot fighter squadron, blah blah blah, you are not briefed in on everything being tested and developed, and you know better than to say that, or you should.
But back to Elon. I mean, you got to remember, he was with a new woman for 3 years. They just split up now. They're done. So we're probably going to see a lot of the old Elon coming back, because you probably had someone like Grimes who was changing him, trying to make him into something more that she wanted versus who he was. So,
come on, no,
Like,
I don't buy that.
She was awesome. It's like she's what
good Canadian kid. Good
Maybe
Canadian kid.
both, maybe,
What I will point out, though, is you guys did a little comparing to like Hughes and Lindbergh, but honestly, like what scares me comparison wise is like, what if he's a modern day Tesla? And here it is, all for humanity, pushing us forward, and then he dies penniless with his work hijacked in the end, all but like forgotten. So,
well,
let's just hope it's not that.
The difference is Tesla never reached that level of wealth to protect his stuff, because remember, he had that a-hole Edison, and others.
Well, he kind of had
stealing
that
things, and that was the guy making the money.
He was kind of naive, though. And he was like, "This is
really
for humanity, and it's going to be free, and everybody's going to love me." And
I don't think
he didn't have that cutthroatness. I don't think
he's that naive.
Does, so.
I don't think Elon Musk is that naive, though. You're right about Tesla.
He's really, I mean, he's highly functional Asperger's, which means he's super intelligent for what he handles. So he's got a lot in there that he can handle at once, more than an average person.
I'm sure he has a safety bank account with $10,000 in it. Okay, I'm pretty sure that he has that.
Is his safety bank account in a bank on Mars?
Well, hopefully he'll smart enough to get a prenup.
They were actually
find out
married
shortly, or is it going to be another Bezos or Bill Gates situation where they lose half of it?
They weren't actually married. They were just together. But
I don't like that kind of talk. That's kind of garbage. I think people get what they deserve in all scenarios, prenups or not.
Oh my.
I don't know. That could be debated. In some cases, you're right. There is the karmic, justice. But in a lot of times, there isn't always the karmic justice. There's, game
his
playing.
last wife asked for 10% of Tesla and 5% of SpaceX when that ended. I don't know if she got it, but that's what she asked for.
Who did?
His last wife.
Oh yeah,
the one he had the twins and the triplets with. She asked for a couple of things, and then at the end of it, she asked for like 10% of SpaceX and 5% of.
Was she with him as he was building it?
For some of it.
Yeah, I mean, any state I can think of, I'm sure she got what
I'm sure she got something.
I don't think that they're vacationing at the Motel 6 and taking the cheap tickets to Disneyland.
No, if she was with him, she has rights to
something.
A piece of that pie.
Right.
And,
but either way, to wrap this up, as we only have about 2 minutes left here before we got to go to our final break of the night. When Elon Musk speaks, whether it's in jest or whether it's in reality, people take him seriously. It's the same thing as when Tom DeLonge would put on his Twitter, "What if I were to tell you?" And then 2 hours later, the tweet is deleted, and Tom is in deny. But I think with Elon, people trust him They trust what he is doing. They trust the motivation. Whether he's telling the truth or not or just playing around on Twitter, I don't think people can read between the lines on that anymore. And that's the danger of it. Thomas, I'm going to give you the final word on this one. You got 90 seconds.
You know, Elon has got a lot to say. He's a big person. He's done a lot. I mean, look at the space program that he's put together. He's the one who's powering everything that NASA is going to be using for the moon. They've got, rockets that land by themselves. We got car companies that have changed, taken the money out of big oil, and, they're expensive cars, but look how cheap they are to get around. I mean, overall, getting him to get out there and admit to this, and it's a big thing, and we just need more people like him lining up, more people that have had experiencers. I'm for it all the way.
Yep.
Me too. And hopefully one day, he will find something. Hopefully one day, if he doesn't or isn't in the know, that he actually has something happen. Personally, I look at him and I think, oh yeah, I think he's experienced or seen something. You can
watch. He'll find something on Mars and he'll give it all to Chris Rakowski.
Bingo. That's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to give it all to Chris Rakowski. Here's a couple of Dogecoin, Chris. Take this and run with it. We won't pass it through the DND this time. We have a fantastic panel. Science Bob McGuire dropped out. His internet crashed at his house, so he's not going to be able to return tonight, but we got a great panel. We have Walter Bosley, researcher and author. Super Quest, the SOR bodyguard, Roy Washington. Nicole Sackage, author and researcher. John Hudson from the Unbiased UFO Report, and from Disclosure Tonight on YouTube, Thomas Fessler. When we come back, after years of silence, Fife Symington talks about the Phoenix Lights. Final half hour of the roundtable is next. All right, we're clear, guys.
The old Pied Fife Symington.
Yep. I've had a lot of fun listening to you guys. You guys have been absolutely brilliant tonight. Absolutely brilliant.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. It's been a blast.
Yeah, much fun.
Oh, wait. No, never mind. I had a question, and then I just answered it myself.
We can't forget to duly note that it's the 60th anniversary of Betty and Barney Hill.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was the 19th.
Just so you guys all know, if you're still feeling awake for it, once the radio show ends, John and I go into an after-hours show here on Friday nights. And if you guys want to stick around and continue the talk, you're more than welcome to. If you want to leave, you're more than welcome to. If you want to say, piss off, we're never doing this again, you're more than welcome to. Just send that to me privately, though. And I want to thank all of our paid subscribers this week, because we buy our subscribers here on YouTube. We finally hit 13,400. And hell yeah, dude, I hate electric cars. I'm a petrol head. I'm a diesel guy myself.
Oh, Dave, if you just drove one, man, oh, God. The acceleration is just like...
Well, the only thing I will say, is this. I have no problem with electric cars. I have no problem with moving away from gasoline or diesel, but I don't think that people who are on the pro-electric vehicle bandwagon right now really understand that lithium-ion batteries cannot be fully recycled, and that crap is as dangerous to the environment as nuclear waste.
Yeah, well, most of people driving Teslas aren't really doing it for the environment.
Oh, I hear you.
Well, let me put it this way, though, too. Like, people in my area, and Dave, like, you're in Canada, I know, like, a true utility vehicle is necessary. And, you're out in the middle of nowhere for hours and hours and hours without electricity anywhere. So I don't know. I know it's a concern. And the other thing I will note is, like, we 2 years ago had a gas station that converted all its pumps. It's right along the interstate, converted all its pumps to electric. And my restaurant is right next to it. And I go outside and I look at this gas station all day long. And the other 3 that are within 2 blocks are busy constantly. Like you have to wait to get to a pump. And that one, it's like crickets.
You know,
it really depends on the state you're in.
You know, the other thing about it too is, you know, for me personally, I have decided I'm not getting an electric battery vehicle until I don't have to sit for 5 hours to fill the thing up to full.
Well, and they don't have the superchargers up in Canada? Because my understanding is the supercharger stations will fill you up in like 90 minutes or 60 minutes.
Okay, so if you're on a holiday say you're driving from British Columbia like I am, and I want to drive down to California because I don't want to take Uber, or I want to work my holiday on my own schedule and see what I want rather than what the touristy things. What's the thing I'm looking at? The tourist companies want me to do. Okay, I'm not. If I'm driving to California, there's gas stations all over, which is great, right down the I-5.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be stopping for an hour and a half with children in my car, sitting around doing nothing for an hour and a half every 5 hours.
Well, the idea is that you have to stop and eat every 5 hours. So like you're basically charging while you eat. I mean, that's the whole concept. But I mean, I only like, for me, like it's in California. Like if you're driving your car in California and you have a Tesla, it's just not a problem. I mean, there's
this coming from a guy who drives a Hemi.
When they're on the road, they take food with them. I'm one of those. I have food with me in the car, and I stop for gas.
But we're getting beyond lithium ion. They've got sodium ion that they were just talking about in August earlier of this year, and they've got other technologies they're going to be able to get beyond. It's just where the battery technology is today, and what it's going to take to have something.
I got to wrap it, guys. I got to wrap it up. I got to wrap it up because we're going to come back in 10 seconds here. Sorry about that, guys. We can debate that after the show. Thank you to all of our super chatters, and here we go with hour 3 or the last half hour, guys. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce our panel on the SOR Roundtable. We have Nicole Sackich, author and researcher. From Disclosure Tonight on YouTube, Thomas Fessler, our good podcaster, award-winning podcaster, Roy Washington. We call him the bodyguard of SOR. John Hudson from the Unbiased UFO Report and author, researcher, former Man in Black. We have Walter Bosley. I'm sorry, Walter, since you said that, I absolutely love saying I'm going to introduce you as that each and every time now, my friend. Anyways, panel, I hope you've had a good time tonight, because we sure have on this end with our listeners, and me hosting this has been absolutely wonderful tonight. Our final topic for tonight was earlier this month, Fife Symington, the former governor of the state of Arizona, during the Phoenix Lights back on March 13th, 1990.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the magic we've been waiting for, calling us to celebrate as never before. The Walt Disney World 50th anniversary, shimmering so iridescently, mere words cannot explain it. Nothing can contain it. Walt Disney World Resort calls us here. The world's most magical celebration is drawing near. Starting October 1st, join us and make the magic soar. Visit DisneyWorld.com/50 for more.
97 spoke at the International UFO Congress. And this was the first time he had spoken at a UFO event to talk about his role in the Phoenix Lights. Now, Symington is probably the most controversial figure in this entire event that lasted a couple of hours, with multiple craft seen from Mesa to Tucson, and later on we've all seen the video of the Phoenix Lights back then, which seemed to span for a couple of miles long. The military came out and said it was A-10 Thunderbolts and F-15s that were dropping flares. Okay, the flares never seemed to move, though. Flares eventually drop or burn out. This was not happening. But where the controversy started for Symington on this was the day after. At a hotel, there was major media, not only from the state of Arizona, but national media taking coverage of this event. They had dozens of cameras there, hundreds of reporters. Symington takes to a podium and then says, "We figured it out, we got our guy." And State Patrol walks out, a man in an alien costume in handcuffs, into the press conference to say that he was sorry for causing a stir for the citizens. 65,000 plus people witnessed this event, and they never forgave Symington for it. Years later, Symington comes out and says he was one of the witnesses who actually saw this craft. And once again, now he is saying he's sorry for the way he treated this event. Nicole, I want to start with you on this one, okay? Because I know as an experiencer, you get real passionate about this type of subject. Is this a matter of too little, too late, or do we need Fife Symington to be speaking more about this subject?
I honestly think he needs to be saying every single day that he's sorry. I think he just a daily podcast about how he was wrong, about how it was terrible that forget about experiencers and that he gave us all a middle finger when he marched out that man in a costume and made it a joke. He did that to his constituents, his voters. You had an entire city of people that he slapped in the face with that.
Well,
so
look what our government does,
over
though.
The decades.
They've been lying to us for 75 years.
There's been redemption. And no, he could have been a champion. He could have championed us in that moment, and he didn't. He dropped the ball,
he saw it too.
And now he's trying to pick it back up again. And we all know what happens when you drop the ball.
What pressure did he have behind the scenes from different areas, some of his advisors from Washington and other places on what to say and how to handle it? So we have to think of, he may have done something and there was that one act. I want to know, and that would be the great interview, Dave. Get him and talk to him and find out what was your train of thought? Why did you do this? And let's understand, there's this act that we look at that we don't like, but there's always a story behind it to get greater understanding.
No, very true. Very true. Walter, I want to throw this at you, though, from your intelligence background. Do you think that before that press conference on March 14th, 1997, that Symington was talked to either A, by the military, or B, by government officials to say, shut up, don't say a thing, and do what you got to do to deflect this event?
I think that's very possible. First of all, I think the event was real. I mean, all those thousands of people seeing it. That's right. That wasn't a very smart way for him to handle it, even if he had been talked to. But I might be the dissenting voice here. I do not think Phoenix Lights was anything otherworldly. Since that happened, we have learned about immensely sized light airship type platform technology. In my opinion, after having looked at it for years and looked at it close enough, Phoenix Lights was not from another world. What it probably was something being developed, something being tested or whatever, and that's why he was talked to. But I don't believe it was an extraterrestrial object.
Have you talked to anyone or interviewed anyone that's actually went out there and recorded? Because I had Tom King on my channel a couple of weeks ago, and he's
read
been around
those interviews and seen those. It was not from another world. This is what happens in ufology. Something happens, and all this stuff gets piled on it to the point where then people say, "Well, of course it was otherworldly because have you seen this, that, and the other?" When that was piled on, look at the Bentwaters thing. Okay, I'm sorry, that wasn't extraterrestrial either. And look what's been piled on, and even some of the witnesses, oh, I saw this or that. And when you look closely with a discerning eye, you find out some truths. But because it becomes part of the lore that everybody wants to believe, you get emotional reactions to saying, it really wasn't. So yeah, I have looked at all of that. I've heard all the arguments. I still am not convinced.
If you want to talk to someone who was actually, if you have ever seen a video of this Phoenix
Sure.
Lights, it's usually Tom King's video who did the original recording. If you ever want to talk to Tom and interview him and hear about, if you ask him the questions that you want to hear an answer to, he'll shoot you an answer that's straight up.
Well, why don't you tell me what he says that so convinced him that it's from another world?
I don't want to insert myself in the middle. I think that's a better account. Hey, I can get you and Tom King to come to my show and talk about it.
I've looked at all that stuff. There's still nothing. The whole idea of that being extraterrestrial comes down to that's people's opinions. When you really look, okay, people saw this thing. It was immense. There's all these layers of what we call analytical overlay and in scientific remote viewing that people just kind of jump to conclusions and pile on there. Okay, and a lot of the stuff about it's ET or whatever, when you get down to it and you look, you find it's an opinion, it's a conclusion. There's no real evidence that it was this otherworldly thing. And
no, exactly.
Totally
it comes down to
UFOs.
You may have looked at this stuff, and if you want to talk to the actual photographer who was there and ask him about the experience and just basically what he saw, no conjecture, no stipulation.
Okay, and if I come away with the same conclusion,
cool.
I'm being stubborn, or he hasn't convinced me.
No, I'm just trying to give you an opportunity to talk to someone who was actually part of it and was there and actually did the tape that everyone's
seen. People talk about this, and I've heard time after time people talking.
I want to interject here for a second because David Spinks, who's been a guest on this show, is a paranormal investigator. He was actually in the United States Air Force at the time, stationed at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, where the A-10s flew out of to intercept this craft. He had no idea while this was going on that all he knew was that the entire base was locked down. He was stuck in a cafeteria with the blinds closed, as was everybody else, trying to figure out what was going on. Nobody knew anything. They weren't allowed to ask any questions. The entire base was on lockdown during this event through the night. And it wasn't until after, when they saw the media reports later on about these lights, that had everybody talking on the base. But he did see that jet fighters were scrambled to try and intercept whatever this was.
But that's not inconsistent with this being some type of operational flight test and a reactionary test of human technology. People love to go, the fighters were scrambled.
Walter, let me pose this to you, though, since I did actually co-author a book on this topic.
Okay.
Here, I'll shamelessly hold it up again.
Okay, I see it.
What I will say is that, yes, I think there are elements. at play that would lead people to believe that this is our tech, human tech. But then when you dive into it a little further and you're talking about this immense scale, and you're talking about a vehicle, whether it's manned or it's these, balloon type craft.
Right.
And okay, so experimental giant craft, like the size of a cruise ship. So where are you going to house that thing? Here. And then when you take into account that these things have been spotted in and on every continent in various countries.
They've been spotted on Earth.
So which government has this experimental craft, and why are they flying it over other countries in highly populated areas?
Our Air Force alone has global reach, and we do.
Why would you put something that high tech and advanced over Phoenix?
Because
or over Belgium, or over the Hudson Valley, or in Australia, or in France, or
Nicole, let him answer.
Alaska.
I'll answer you.
Chicago.
This is what people in ufology never want to accept. The same thing with the Tic Tac is what you want to do is they wanted to test the reaction of the people on the base. And so what if the people in Phoenix see it? Okay, let's see how people react.
They have 5 different variations of this craft. Triangle, chevron,
to be fair,
pyramid.
I'll look at the things you guys are flashing around in front of me. If you will equally delve in actually deeper than I think you have in technological development of this stuff, because I don't think you've looked as close as you think you have to that. So,
I don't know. I'm real heavy into like Navy R&D.
Okay, but you see my point? It's like you guys are saying, oh, but you haven't considered this person or that person. Well,
no, I mean, I'm just saying, like, that it's a high argument. I mean, okay. I can't name any other secret project or experimental project that would have been tested in that way, shape, or form. Ever.
Because they do that stuff classified and secretly.
I
hear Richard Dolan make comments
we
like
know
that
where
all
we
the time.
tested the stealth and where the stealth was being flown.
Yeah, what airport's going to be able to handle something
one that like flies for 2 years and then it finally lands?
It's not going to be kept at an airport. It's going to be kept, at some sensitive installation. And the nature of these things, some of these giant platforms, is they are like collapsible. Okay, we're talking a very light weight thing. I mean, it amazes me that people get excited about what so and so does and this does, but when it comes down to possibly explaining the popular UFO cases, they don't want to hear it. It couldn't possibly be ours.
So Walter, I will agree with you from the point of view of, yes, people get too emotionally attached, and I cannot say that I agree with you on Phoenix or Bentwaters, but I can give you an alternative example of what you're experiencing, in that I believe I've found really significant evidence that Calvine UFO was a U.S. program, that was Aurora.
The what? I didn't hear you.
Calvine, the triangled craft that Nick Pope had up on his wall.
Okay.
It's Calvine. Is it Calvine or Calvine? I think it's Calvine, right?
Anyway, triangular.
Yeah. Anyway, and I mean, I have what I think is damn good. It's damn good reason to believe it's our program, sure. And I'm in awe of the reaction I get to that information. Like people are they get angry, right?
Yes.
But the one thing I will say though is that in the case of this, I'm not blanket saying I think it's alien or blanket saying I think it's US. I'm pointing to a specific program and a specific configuration of a specific vehicle that I have information on how, like, what it did and how it was made and so forth. In the case of the Phoenix Lights, to me, anyone saying that they think it's alien or they think it's U.S. made, to me, like, there should be some burden to show, like, in what form you think it's that thing, right? I mean, to just say that I don't think it's alien, or to say that I think it is alien. I mean, maybe there are watermarks to say that if you exceed a certain technological ability, it's automatically alien. But what I'm trying to get to is, do you have any specific craft or programs in mind that you think it might match?
I'll provide it to Dave in the next week. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't sit here with my
no, totally. And you are right. I know of some incredibly large platform old programs that were done a very, very long time ago.
There's stuff being done now.
I was just wondering if it was a specific thing that you think matches.
And
environment. Okay.
Yes, and other people have pointed this out too. And like I'm saying, when I do these shows, I don't have my AHA files sitting out in front of me.
Sure. Yeah.
Excuse me for not remembering the name of the company offhand, but I'll provide that to Dave.
That's the only thing I was confused on, was that it wasn't clear to me that it was a specific craft, or was it just you knew a certain technology was being investigated? Right?
It's both. It's situation where it's a both thing. There's these companies that are doing these kinds of things, and then others have done an analysis and pointed out specific things. But that's not popular in UFO world because
Walter, I want to ask you a question.
Confirmation bias.
I want to ask you a question here because I have seen two black triangles in my day.
Okay.
And both were different. One was smaller with an entirely lit up undercarriage. The other one had the classic 3 dots.
Sure.
And the one that had the classic 3 dots that my friend and I saw was massive.
Sure.
The biggest thing I've ever seen in the sky.
Okay.
And so what I'm asking is, if these craft, which most people know as the TR-3B, is human-made, many people are seeing these at the same times at different parts of the continent, different parts of the world. That would mean that they have a major fleet of different variations of this craft flying at all times.
You don't know that. It doesn't mean they have a major fleet of these. They can have X number, and they're doing various flight operations in different parts of the world.
True. Okay.
You know, I mean, to assume that they have this massive fleet of them, that's an assumption.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
It's interesting. We had one fly over Washington State here in 2019.
One at a time, guys. We're cutting over each other on audio. Go ahead.
That's what I was meaning. Like, in what program in our past have we ever had permission to run programs like that in foreign territory? We can just fly a triangle over Canada?
Yeah, because the permissions are at a higher level than the citizens. I hate to tell you.
I don't know, though.
I do. I mean,
I could see maybe trying to test this on an adversary, but without an ally's permission.
Okay,
no.
NORAD.
Wait a minute. Stop. Hold on. You're making an assumption that we didn't have that ally's permission. That's an assumption. We at this level don't know that they didn't have You're making an assumption.
NORAD.
So to carry on with the assumption, though, so they're in on it. You're saying they would be in on it. So they're in on the cover-up.
If DOD has an agreement with DND, to do these tests for whatever reason, they're going to allow it. Because what was the Phoenix Lights doing to harm anyone? It was flying, over and people saw lights. How is that harmful?
Isn't it Secret Tech 101, though? It's secret.
But wait a minute.
Belgium, though. So what would be the point of
to get the reaction of the public or, people to, what do they think this is? How are they going to react if they start seeing these things? If you don't think that kind of parts of the studies go on, you're just not in on these particular type programs. Just because the citizenry thinks, that doesn't pass my smell test, doesn't mean it doesn't go on. It just means, hey, not all of us are. We're not, and I'm with you guys now. I'm not read in on these programs.
I do actually have an example.
30 seconds.
I didn't think this happened either, because a D notice was issued in the British government for a U.S. program that D notice basically means that that craft can fly in British airspace, and if anyone in the MOD sees it, gets a report on it or hears about it, they're not allowed to speak about it because it is in a U.S. program they were notified of.
And on that note, I got to wrap this thing up, and we end on a major, awesome score debate here on the roundtable. Nicole Sakic, Thomas Fessler, Superquest, Roy Washington, Walter Bosley, Science Bob before his internet crapped out, and of course the the fedora wearing John Hudson. We appreciate each and every one of you coming on the roundtable, making it exciting, a full UFO roundtable tonight. You guys were absolutely amazing and full of energy. Thank you so much for hanging on out with us on the SOR roundtable. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has stopped for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yep, we've got room for them too. Good night.
We did it again. Verizon was just named America's most reliable network by Root Metrics for the 16th time in a row, proving once again that nobody builds networks like Verizon builds networks. That's why we're building 5G right. That's why there's only one best network, Verizon. Best and most reliable based on Root Metrics reports from second half 2013 to first half 2021 of 3 operators on all network types combined, not specific to 5G networks.
Own the road with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Whether you're cruising through Nashville on I-40, heading down I-90 to Boston, or touring Santa Cruz on the 5, you'll be covered by the largest 5G network. T-Mobile covers the most interstate highway miles in America with 5G.
See 5G device coverage and access details at T-Mobile.com. Most reliable according to independent third-party Umlaut from crowdsourced user experience data from January to July 2021. Fastest according to Open Signal Awards based on average speeds in USA. 5G user experience report July 2021.